Do I look any better on my big screen?
You look marvelous.
Do I look any better?
You must be on your computer, I guess.
I am.
All right.
I finally got a big screen computer, and that's what I'm on. So
Looks great.
terrific. Okay.
All right, this is John checking the audio. Can anybody hear that?
I can hear
Sound
you.
good, John.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
She's got it.
Am I hearable?
Yeah.
Okay. Just for the record now, and I can shut up and just eavesdrop. I don't have any report to make at all. So I'm now going to mute myself.
So this is Nan. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to mute myself until my time.
So Paul, in lieu of a report, it's been driving me nuts. What is the flag behind you? It was mentioned in your comp plan, and I was Googling it and trying to identify it.
Yeah. That's because you can't see the whole thing.
Okay. I can only
So it's known as the Battle of Brandywine flag. It is, and you can't see, let's see if I can get this up a little bit. I'll grab my camera. You can see that I guess it's called the canton. It actually looks like a flag within a flag. And it is actually a Revolutionary War flag. It was flown at the Battle of Brandywine, but it is really the Chester County militia flag. And it's because of Janine's work with the Brandywine battlefield that she particularly commented and noticed the flag and said she liked it. So that's the full explanation.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think we're all here, yeah?
I think so.
Nancy, you're on mute.
Looks like we're ready to go.
Okay, everybody ready? Okay. So I call to order the Board of Supervisors meeting for Wednesday, July 15th, 2020 at 7:03 p.m. In attendance via Zoom are Supervisors McVeigh, Auerbach, D, and Gerstenhaber. Also in attendance are Solicitor Mark Thompson, Township Manager Joan McFaul. Mark, are you out there somewhere?
Yes.
Assistant Township Manager Jeff Eastburn and Secretary Sharon Norris. Norris, yeah. So I just wanted to mention we've added something to the agenda. It's the interim road maintenance bid and road paving bid package, and it's the last item on the agenda. Okay, public comment. This public comment is for anything related to items on tonight's agenda. So the beginning of the meeting, the public comment is for anything on the agenda. At the end of the meeting, if you want to talk about something that wasn't on the agenda, that would be the time to do it. Please state whether you are a township resident or a township taxpayer. If you're using YouTube, you must type in your name and address before your comment will be recognized. If you do not identify yourself, your comments will not be reflected in the minutes. Okay. Okay, Mary, you want to kick it off?
Are there any public comments?
Oh, yeah. Any public comments? Thanks, Dave.
Okay.
Okay, go
All
ahead,
right.
Mary.
I make a motion to approve the June 5th, 2020 meeting minutes as presented by the Township Secretary. Seconded by
I will.
Nancy. Okay. Any discussion?
Well, Joan, do you want to, or go ahead, Dave.
I was
Oh,
gonna
you're
say,
on
yeah,
mute.
because we have two options on the table here, so maybe we can talk
Yeah.
about those, right?
Yeah. Sharon or Donna, we can't hear you. Still can't.
I am.
Yes.
Okay, but thanks,
I'm
Donna.
thank you.
Before you say anything, I'll just give a preview as to how this came about. We had gone through version 7 of the minutes from the last Board of Supervisors meeting, and there were inaccuracies in them. I mean, things that, Donna, both you and I did not say that were in there. So after I listened to all the minutes again, I talked to Joan and I just said, what do other townships do? I mean, these minutes are so complicated and so long. And I think Eileen spends hours trying to capture everyone's comments. And so we looked at the London Britain, we looked at the rules in terms of what's required in minutes. And the actual fact is, I'm trying to look for the actual note, but I think it needs to be attendees, public comments, motions, voting on the motions and actions from the motions.
Location,
Am I missing anything, Joan?
location, right?
What's that?
Location. The location.
Location of the meeting, okay. So we had Joan and Sharon redo the minutes to make them just much more streamlined and to look more like other townships' minutes. So that's what we're voting on.
I think those minutes are inefficient, and I just want to, as I said, want to make a comment. So let's step back a little bit, and I once again I want to congratulate the current board with the new additions of David and Mary to the board, and I think you've done an excellent job of making the case we need to be more transparent with the residents, and I think you should be really proud of that. And you've done that by doing the talking about a new website. Talk about a newsletter today, and Dave, you've done that with having the Zoom meetings and making sure that we get as many participants as possible, and I think that's really good. The minutes are a means that folks that can't make the meeting, that don't have the ability or the interest to sit and do a Zoom, that they can understand what's going on. So context is important. So I would keep that in mind. The second thing that the minutes are for, are been very helpful, I can speak to myself, is if I have an issue and I'm trying to go back to find out what happened 3 years from now, or 3 years ago, having context to what the discussion was is very important. And the streamlined minutes don't tell me anything. I have no, to say that, for example, I'll take an example where we agreed to spend, I think like $6,000 to do the update on the code. The fact that we already spent $2,000 to do a yearly update, and now that's really an additional $4, is a big difference to me as a resident and as a township rep. To know that there's other money spent. The streamline minutes just say the board got together and they agreed to do that. You need the context. And just one last comment. If there's something inaccurate, and I think if you said something was inaccurate, then if it's inaccurate, we need to change it. It should be changed. If it's not inaccurate and you happen to disagree with it, then I think you can comment on that as either at the meeting where it occurred or today. You can say, I'll pick me on me. Donna said X. I don't think that reflects the truth, or I see it in a different way, and that could be a post-meeting note in a minute. So I beg of you guys, don't get rid of the context because it's important. Go ahead.
Okay, other comments?
Yes, it's John. The original,
Unmute.
let me see if hold on a second here. Did I?
You're okay, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, I thought I unmuted. All right, hold on a second. I get back to my comments here. The original versions of the meeting minutes provided a full description of meeting activities and discussions, and they're acceptable as presented by the secretary. The shortened minutes, this version of the minutes does not provide meaningful information and useful information. For anyone trying to determine what was discussed in the meeting, either now or many years later, fails any test for comprehensive information. And the next question is, why would you want to redact historical information about how the road program was conducted? It's history. It's important history.
And you shared it?
I'm not finished. why was this statement from the board redacted? And it's quote, all board members agreed that the road program is a core function of the township, and all members agreed, and it was removed. Frankly
No
speaking,
idea.
I'm still talking.
Okay.
Frankly speaking, the minutes have low value to anyone seeking information about past meetings. These records are documents that will endure for a long time. If these minutes are adopted, will the board trio edit the video to conform with the text minutes? Secondly, I just got some information that a PSAT's attorney recently advised that the original versions of the minutes are appropriate and just right. My position is to adopt the minutes as presented by the secretary initially.
Thank you, John. Mary or Dave, do you have any
Yes,
opinions?
can I make a comment?
Sure.
First of all, who is doing the minutes? The name on the bottom of the page says Sharon. And I thought Sharon's minutes of our last meeting were spot on, really well done. But the first version we got was done by Eileen, who was not at the, who listened to a tape, whatever. Why are we paying Eileen to do notes of a minute, minutes of the meeting, and then we have to turn it over to Sharon? Here's the thing, John, all this is on YouTube. Every word we say is on YouTube. I think the minutes should be a shortened version of what we talked about with all the extraneous, like what I'm talking about right now. And I think they should be done by Sharon. Done deal. We're making a big deal out of something very small, I think. And that's my comment. I would like Sharon to do them. I want Eileen out of the equation. She's not at the meeting. She's listening to a tape. What she's transcribing was not accurate. It's not the first time. It's just going to get, wait a minute. Let me have my say. I don't talk that often.
And when Mary, when you're done, could you just answer the question? Could you just state what wasn't accurate? That would be helpful. When you're done.
Well, the one thing that was totally inaccurate was no decisions were ever made at a staff meeting. Items were discussed, but all decisions were made at a Board of Supervisors meeting. And we all know that is not true.
I said that.
Which is why we had a 4-hour meeting last time. So what I want to say, I like the minutes that Sharon did very much. They were a short compilation of what we talked about. If you want to expand on anything we talked about, go to the YouTube. It's right there.
YouTube won't be there forever. So 5 years from now, you're not going to go find YouTube.
How do you know that?
For some people, because who knows where it goes. But the paper will be.
Once it's out there.
Donna, let's let each person have a say, okay? Dave hasn't spoken yet.
Okay, I'm done, Dave.
Thanks, Mary.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think that it's easier to understand. It's, we have a 7-page, I mean, it's this crazy long document that takes a week to write up. And what we have
5 pages versus 3 pages. It's not crazy.
And the truncated version is very clear and very understandable. It's unbiased. And I feel like there's, if you want context, not only can you come to the meetings yourself, but you can also go to YouTube and see the entire meeting online and download.
What are you going to do 5 years from now? It's a history.
Donna,
it's not.
Please let each of us speak. Donna, please let each of us speak, and then you can talk.
But you're making statements that make no sense. This thing is
You
not.
can talk for a minute, Donna. Donna, let's respect each person's opinion. So from my perspective, I never would have questioned minutes until I saw inaccuracies. I had to go through both videos, the road meeting and the Board of Supervisors meeting, to find out the minutes attributed comments that I did not make and that you did not make. And so Eileen took the liberty of putting those comments in. So we now have minutes that we can't believe. We have to go back and listen to the video. To me, it's totally inappropriate. I don't think the public wants it. And I think for paying Eileen $18 an hour to probably spend 10 or 12 hours a week doing this, it's not a good use of the township's money. That's all I have to say. So should we vote?
Okay, so I totally disagree with your characterization. First of all, I can speak for me. What was in the minutes from last week, I said those words. You may not agree with me.
No, I listened to the video. I listened to the video.
I said those words.
You did not say, okay, all right. You guys ready
It
to
does
vote?
work. Now, if you can, you may not agree, and I think you have every right to say, I disagree. Then say that. And you have every
Okay.
right to say, but you can't, but because of that, for example, you can just get away from the Sunshine Act, just for a second. We can come back to that later. There was stuff in there about, like I said, the cost of the ordinance. The longer minutes explains that the service was $1,400 to $1,800 a year that we paid anyway. So it provides context for the $6,425 that we're spending, which I think is important. When you talk about Brent's comments, they're totally gone in the shorter version, where what he said is important and how Jeff responded to it was important. You can't just cut that stuff out. That explains that the township is aware of the problem and is doing something about it, has done something in the past, and will do something in the future. That's gone. There's other parts that for the park. We had Paul Lagasse's comment about the White Clay Creek Preservation Committee. That's gone. There's important stuff that's in the minutes that's no longer there, and it provides context that we lose if we go with a short version.
So then, Donna, when you see the minutes for this month and you think there's something important that got left out, let us know.
I'm telling you right now, for last month, you're missing stuff. If there's things, what I worry about is that I'll pick on me, that you did not agree with what I said at the last meeting for the Sunshine Act. And because of that, you're trying to throw everything else out. And I think that's very short-sighted. If there's a concern with what I said at the last meeting, then
Donna,
let's address that. Let's just not just throw out
Donna, Eileen admitted that she added words that weren't there, okay? So you want to talk to Eileen, talk to Eileen. But she admitted that you did not say those words. You can go back and listen to the video, okay? All right, folks, I think it's time to vote. Everybody in favor?
No, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to vote. I haven't had, I want to know how we're going to deal with information, and I'm talking about last month's meeting. I'm not talking about this. You're just going to get rid of it. It's lost forever if we don't have it. If we don't have that verbiage in the minutes.
Could I say?
And I have one more point, to bring up. I would argue that the short minutes are actually incorrect in one spot, and I'll show you where. If you look at the abbreviated minutes for the June 17th meeting, and look at the conversation on Sunshine Act. I mean, there's a line in there that I don't believe was ever said. Let me just put it out to you. Let me just make sure. Not this one. I'll be there in a second. I'm sorry. I got to find the version. It's under. Okay, it's under. Gosh, I'm sorry, guys. I had this whole thing worked out.
While you're looking, Sharon would like to say something.
Okay.
Thank you. I would like to say that I was the one that transcribed the June 5th road program minutes, not Eileen.
Okay.
And the fact, I just also would like to say that it's easy to go through and take information out to make it concise when there's a lot of information there. You know what I mean?
It's hard to interpret.
Sharon, just repeat that.
I said that I was the one who transcribed the June 5th minutes, and that with the June 17th minutes, you know, we took them from 7 pages to 3 pages or whatever we did. But it was easier for me to take the big document and narrow it down. You know what I mean? Than to just start with 3 pages. I think there was my job was made easier by what I needed.
Okay.
So let me show you what I want to point out to you. So if you look in the abbreviated minutes for last month's meeting under Sunshine Act, there's a comment, it's like the 4th line down. It says there should never be more than one supervisor in the room at one time, other than at a public meeting. That was never agreed to. And if you look at the long meetings, that's not even in there.
So what would you like it to say?
I think that sentence needs to go away. I think the rest of it's accurate, but that was never said. we did say 2 supervisors will no longer attend the township manager's weekly staff meeting. We did say that. And we did agree 1 supervisor may only to listen and learn, not to participate. We did say that.
Right, I hear you. So we should take that sentence out.
So, yeah, I think the point here is that it's not a word for word document for what this meeting is. And so when you look, we're still going to have the minutes presented to the board to agree on. And so if there is something that is grossly misrepresented or grossly missing, you have the opportunity to say, okay, well, here's what's missing and here's what needs to be in there. But I don't think we need to have this lengthy document that goes back and forth for iterations.
So do you want to do that now, David? Because I'm more than happy to take a page-by-page review of last month's minutes and tell you what's missing.
Well, what we can also do is not vote down the minutes, and you go and you can do that and add your additions for August, and we'll push it. I mean, I don't know what you're saying.
Okay, but let's vote on whether we will be, in general, applying the truncated minutes or the 7 pages of minutes. And let's keep moving because we have a lot of people here.
I still have some comments. I believe that the reliance on YouTube is inappropriate for permanent township records. No one knows what the longevity of those records are. Township has no direct control over it. The written minutes essentially end up in our files, our archives. They're backed up at 2 or 3 different places outside the computers in the township. So they are the permanent record. So to rely on YouTube, I think, is inappropriate. So the minutes need to reflect the happenings in the meeting. So
Okay.
I think I'm not finished yet. I'm sorry, I'm not finished yet. You want to keep talking, and we keep talking like this. Okay, when I'm done talking, you can talk, okay? I think the shortened minutes are, for all the effort that you have put into trying to be transparent and making these issues about trying to be as transparent as possible on all issues, this flies in the face of what you're doing. It completely eradicates the whole transparency thing that you got. So I think I would actually, if you adopt these meetings, I would end up referring them to as the redacted cancel culture meeting minutes. This is part of the cancel culture. When you don't like what somebody's saying, you cut it out. And I think that's what you're doing.
Okay. All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
What are we in favor of? Can you phrase it? Can you
Only
say aye
the
to?
truncated minutes from here on out. The facts and only the facts, not opinions, not people talking about how they do roads, just the facts.
How about repeating the motion? How about repeating the motion so we hear it?
Dave, can I get you on? Dave?
We have to change the wording of the motion. So the wording of the motion should be, I make a motion to approve the June 5th, 2020 meeting minutes as presented by the Township Secretary, the shortened version, seconded by
Nancy? Dave is aye, Mary is aye, I am aye. Anyone opposed, any nays?
Nay for John.
Okay, Donna, nay. Okay,
So, do I still have the action to go and put back what I think is missing? Because I thought that's, at least Dave offered that to me.
Yes, you do.
yes.
Yes,
You
you
do.
do.
Okay, and then I can bring it back to the next meeting?
Yes,
If
you.
it becomes 7 pages again, Donna, it will not work.
Well, it's not 7 pages now, it's 5. So I think let's not be misleading.
All right, we're
One-
going to 7
One is
revisions.
2 pages and one is 5. Let me give
Donna, you're confused. We're talking about the road minutes. The road minutes are 3 pages long. We just passed the road minutes. The June 5th meeting. You're talking about a completely different meeting.
I apologize, David. Thank you for that. I did not realize that. And to tell you the truth, I can. There's only one line that I would want put back in in the road minutes, so I will send that.
So,
to-
and then we've already had our discussion on this because the second motion is the June 17th meeting minutes.
So do we have to say it? I make a motion to approve the June 17th meeting minutes.
Two
As
motions.
shown as the truncated version, and to use this approach going forward. Anybody want to second it?
I'll
So
second
can
it.
you make it 2 separate motions? Why don't we do one at a time?
We are. Motion,
That's
it's
what we're doing, yeah.
3A, it's on your sheet. 3A is June 5th. 3B is June 17th.
Yeah, and then Nancy added a third motion in there that says, and this is what we'll take for forever. Can we just, that can be a third motion. Can we just do,
What's the third motion?
so Nancy said, and this is the process that we will follow for the future. That should be a separate motion.
Oh,
Okay. I make a motion that in the future minutes that the township,
Wait, we haven't done the second motion yet.
you want to, does somebody want to second the second motion?
Second.
all right, I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Right. And I'm a nay. And this is the one where I can provide something at the next meeting, correct? That's what we said.
Absolutely. You can put in and take out anything you want. We're just starting from a more neutral position.
Well, I don't know what that means. It's not neutral. I don't know.
So we can talk about that in the future, but we can talk about, you generally speaking, the only opinions that are presented in these minutes are from one supervisor. And so we're trying to keep things to much more neutral and fact-based.
Well,
Thank you very much.
I disagree with that conversation, but I will take another run and bring it into the next month's meeting.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And everything needs to be fact-based, not opinion-based.
Can
I make a motion that we change the way we write minutes to move to the legally required abbreviated minutes, no opinions in the minutes, simply facts, actions, motions.
And context. You need context.
And context.
Context is important. I agree.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And that's what's missing.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Nay.
Okay, let's move on.
Nay, I missed my mute, sorry. It's a
Good,
nay
that's
for
okay.
me.
Okay,
Can
all
I-
right, Joe.
Nancy, can I ask a question, please?
Yes, Joan.
Quickly of Mark. I just want to be sure we're clear here, because Donna said I can come back next month and change these minutes. And I don't think you can once they've been approved. Is that correct, Mark?
I don't see any reason why, if there's a proposed amendment to minutes that have been approved, that those amendments, those minutes not be amended. So I don't think that's a problem.
That's always up to the board to approve. Well, yeah, this is right. This was over an oversight. These can be living documents. So
Yeah, you can amend those minutes.
We can amend approved minutes.
yes.
I just want to know, so we know what to do, that's all.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Okay, Donna, you're next.
She said Donna.
Donna,
I'll get myself together. So I make a motion that the Board of Supervisors adopt Resolution 2020-16 regarding the disposition of records for the Board of Supervisor meeting of June 5th, 2020 and June 17th, 2020.
I'll second that.
That's by Nancy. Any discussion?
Yes, it's a no vote for me. I'm not going to allow you to erase the tape with all this controversy over the minutes. I think they're incorrectly presented. I think they're not representative of what's said, so I'm not going to vote yes to get rid of the tapes. So my vote's no.
Should we wait anyways? I mean, I'm wondering if we should wait until I provide the amended minutes, just to hold on to this for another month.
If you approve this motion, the tape will be erased.
No, I hear you, John. I'm with you. I'm not going to vote for it, but I don't know if the other folks would be okay if we.
honestly, I don't care if we never erase the tapes. Why don't we just keep the tapes in a pile somewhere? Who cares?
Fine by me.
Just have a box full of tapes. We don't need to delete them ever. I mean, why do we need to even talk about this every month? This is on here every month. Do we have to erase the tape? Why don't we just keep the tape in the township office, and every month we spend a couple bucks and buy a new tape? That'll satisfy the record, right? So John won't have to worry about YouTube going away, and we can have our context. It seems pretty straightforward.
Well, I can just offer the reason why that's on there. Probably about 10 years ago, a decision was made that the best evidence of what happened at a meeting is the minutes. So rather than keep the tapes around, the board has the ability to basically eliminate that requirement. So
the reason it's the best evidence, right, is it's an edited version of what's on the tapes, right? It's kind of like a email retention policy.
According to the second class township code, the minutes are the official record of what occurred at the meeting, and the decision at the time was to not have the tapes around, because then we would have to be able to provide those tapes under the Right to Know Act, and rather than digging back to see what happened 10 years ago at a meeting, it was
easier, more convenient.
Rely on the minutes.
Okay.
But I mean, that's up to the board. If you wanted to keep the tapes, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just another repository of information.
I'm completely fine with keeping the tapes
it.
around. I mean, John's is very upset and wants to make sure that the record is clean. We can keep those tapes forever. I have no reason not to do that.
Okay, so does everyone want to re-vote on this then? All discussion?
Well, we haven't voted yet. We just put the motion out.
Pardon me?
We haven't voted. We just put the motion out.
I mean, Nancy or Mary, do you have an opinion on whether or not
I agree. If
we
it's
erase
going to
this?
upset people, what was said was said. What I don't like is when what was said is not what's reflected in the minutes. And so if it's going to make people happy, fine.
Yes,
I have no problem keeping tapes forever.
Absolutely.
No, just put them in a box.
I recommend you just withdraw the motion, and then they'll be retained.
So I'll withdraw I'll withdraw the motion.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
That's a good, and then do we, I guess, well, we can talk about it. Let's all think about it for a month, but we might just not have this motion, but let's talk about it. So I want to get Mark's opinion and think about it some more. But we do this every month, and it might be something that is superfluous.
Well, what I like to do, because I actually would like to revisit this next meeting, what I like to do is take the opportunity to go and rework the minutes with the information that I think is missing, and present that to the board. Because I do agree with what Mark says. I think the minutes are still the best record, and if we could get the group to agree to this level of detail, or I call it context, then maybe you would at least make me more comfortable, and I wouldn't feel like I need to have the tape. Because I would prefer to get the minutes. But so if you don't mind, if we could just keep this on, and maybe we could agree to a certain level of context and detail. And then we could go back to getting rid of the tape.
Good proposal. Thank you, Donna.
Thanks. I agree. Yep, I'm good.
All right, let's move on. Dave, you have the next one.
I make a motion that the board approve the June treasurer's report, which includes the following disbursements: the general fund with disbursements and transfers of $112,300.80. The Park and Recreation Fund with disbursements of $9,461.31. The Open Space Fund with disbursements of $6,330.74. The Capital Reserve Fund with disbursements of $11,000. The Highway Aid Fund with disbursements of $568.05. The Emergency Services Fund with disbursements of $62,880.07. And the Fire Hydrant Fund with disbursements of $580.80, leaving a balance in all funds totaling $1,221,825.10. Seconded by
me, Nancy.
Any discussion?
Yes, I would like to bring up 2 points. The first point I'd like to bring up is I know you folks have all looked at your books, but if you look at, this is just an observation, it's not really a question. If you look at the income, and you can see that if you look at the earned income tax for January to June 2019 to January to June 2020, you can see a significant difference in those two numbers, about $40,000. And you can also see a significant difference in the interest that's a little further down. And if you go down to the total, you can see we're off by about $100,000 for the year. Once again, just an observation. I know we talked about it at the road meeting, but I just think it's something that we should continue to pay attention to as the year goes on. It's not minor.
Absolutely. Thanks, Donna.
And then I have one other comment. So I came in today to sign checks, and I noticed an expense under our legal fees that I was just just questioning. I didn't understand it. I know Mary talks a lot about trying to understand how we're spending money and asking a lot of questions to understand that context. And I saw a bill for 2-hour conversation between Mark and Nancy. And first of all, I'd like to get some context to what that's about. And I'm trying to understand how that can occur, because I thought we agreed that we're not spending any money unless it's authorized by the board. So maybe I'm missing something. So I just want to put that out on the table to get some clarification.
We'll talk about it in an executive session.
How does that work? Is that tonight?
Not tonight.
Oh, I don't understand. Why don't I get an answer? So why can't it be tonight? I should have an answer to that.
Can't tell you.
Well, no, it doesn't work that way. So help me understand. We're bored. We had an excellent.
Mark, how does it work?
Yeah, help me out here.
As I've done over the years with any chairman or board member, I am available to have conversations, and Nancy wanted to review issues in the township, speak to me about it, potential legal opinions, and it was something that was going to be followed up with the board. So I'm not at liberty to just lay that out all right now, but certainly board members are able to have conversations with me, and Donna, you will certainly be brought up to speed.
Okay, so what I was told, maybe things have changed and I wasn't aware of it. I was told when I first came on the board that we don't talk to the lawyers or to the engineers, that we go through our township manager. Not because they're going to stop us, but just because Joan has a good sense of what's going on in general, and we let her know. And so has that changed? We just can go to the lawyers and to the engineers that are whenever we feel like it, or is that something we need to get an okay for? I just feel like there's a shift here that I missed.
So Joan, have you or any of the supervisors ever gone to Mark?
Yeah, I have conversations. I can only tell you that I've had conversations with whomever was the chairman of the board concerning a host of legal issues over the years. It's not necessarily a situation where I get phone calls or talk individually to board members about issues, but the chairman obviously is, the first among equals and gets to set the agenda. And I will certainly talk to the chairman about any legal issue that the township may have. So it's generally the chairman, and certainly Joan, is the one to direct the comments to and be the person to deal with any issues.
Well, I'm confused because Joan didn't know about this. So what, Mark, as a member of the board, I can contact you directly, or I need to go? I thought I needed to go through Joan. I just want to know, is that changed? And when did it change? And is the chairman different? I'm not. This is different. I don't understand how we got to this place.
The chairman is different. As Mark said, it's the first among equals. So the chair has the privilege, I guess, if you will, to talk to the engineers and Mark if they have questions, right? It's just very similar to when John was chairman or whoever was the chairman before John. That was the behavior.
Not that I was aware of, and I don't know what you mean. The equal one. I don't understand the statement. The chair is the chair who runs the meeting. I was never. Maybe I need to see. Is there a list that says that what are the responsibilities of the chair? Because I know they run the meeting, But I didn't know that they were anything more special than that.
Well, I'm not giving you an answer, so I think we need to move on.
No, that was
No,
my,
I'm not ready to move on.
I have some comments. That was my understanding, that all supervisors are equal, and the chair's only additional responsibility was to run the meeting, that there were no other special privileges beyond that. Is that something you could talk to, Mark?
Well, the chairman traditionally in Franklin Township has taken the leadership role in setting the agenda and organizing the board. So, I mean, it's been the custom and practice in Franklin for, you know, the solicitor's office to deal directly with the chairman on whatever issue, you know, that may come up that the chairperson thinks is important. So, you know, again, it could be the decision could be that any supervisor can call any consultant and talk, but someone has to do the organizing, and that's usually been the chair's job as well as Joan. So, you know, comments and issues are funneled through those individuals. And if we wanted to set a separate policy, then, you know, we could certainly discuss that, but that's really what it has come down to over the years.
All right, I have one other question about the character of the conversation. Could you, in broad terms, indicate the subject, whether it is a personnel, land purchases, or a legal assault on the township? Is there any way to character?
John, I'm only going to say that it was concerning legal issues. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, the next one is the zoning.
I have still some other comments.
So hold on, we got to, so first of all, is there any discussion on this? Can we finish up this motion?
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
No, I'm not finished with that. I have comments on the Treasury report.
Okay.
All right. Recently, the board decided to sign all township checks in a monthly board meeting. Because this meeting is virtual, all checks have been previously signed. In keeping with the board's decision, I want to review a list of all 31 checks issued since the last board meeting. I want to read from a list, type, date, payee, and amount. That's in keeping with what we're going to do in the future.
No, I don't think we ever agreed to go through every check in the board meeting.
We did not.
Well, that's the purpose of signing them in the meeting, in a public meeting. If you don't advise the public what the checks are for, now I'm really confused as to what you're trying to do.
Look, you're trying to
please explain this in detail.
The whole reason that we were going to bring the check signing at the conclusion of board meetings was not to read out all the checks, because we don't do that in staff meetings. It was to allow for one board member at a staff meeting. It wasn't to bog down a meeting with you reading every single check that we wrote. It's a pretty simple concept that you should be able to understand, John.
I don't understand it. And the idea was to be transparent. And I'm expecting that you're going to review these checks. Now, other townships do that. Contrary to what you just said, is during the staff meetings, every one of those checks is read and looked at very carefully. The invoices are attached. So then it's just signed without review. So I expected you're going to do this at a board meeting. So
they're not going to be signed without review, because they were reviewed when the supervisors signed the check, the same way that they are signed in staff meetings.
All right. So physically, where and when are you going to sign the checks?
Joan, who would you like to?
No, I want to know. Come on, what's going on here? I'm getting
John, we're on
John,
Zoom,
hold on.
unfortunately.
John,
we're
we had
timed
decided
right
that
now.
we are not going to be signing those checks at these board meetings until the COVID-19 crisis comes down. I think you understand that we can't virtually sign these checks.
That's right, but in keeping with the plan to sign the checks,
I know you're trying
we should review all those checks in this meeting, check by check.
That
Let's
is
be
ridiculous.
civil, John. Let's all be civil, okay? There's
You're
no
a
reason
clown.
to get upset.
I'm not upset. I'm just seeing a change in policy. I see hypocrisy here. Say one thing and then you do something else. So you're not transparent.
Okay. Thank
What are
you,
you
John.
worried about, John? What are you worried about?
Transparency, that's the issue you brought up.
Well,
What is
the
changed
budget
that
is,
the
the
public-
budget is already available.
Well, the
Fine,
budget,
if you want to read the checks, go read them.
the budget's a spending plan. It's not it's not an indication of what you.
Fine, John, go ahead and read the checks.
John, we're on a Zoom meeting. We could be at the table.
Fine, and
have
as
all the
you do
checks
that,
and all look at them, but we cannot do that in the current conditions. So
And
I had to
John,
go down to the office and sign them today.
I don't remember you ever sharing checks at any board meetings, John,
of
ever.
course not. John
Well,
makes
I know
decisions at
other
board
townships do. I know London, Britain does.
Well, then why not bring that up as an idea for next month instead of trying to do it right now?
Well, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. But it certainly takes a nick out of your transparency.
All right,
It does
thank
not,
you, John.
John.
Hold on,
It sure
guys.
does. I believe that
Guys,
it does.
It's fine. It's fine.
All right.
It's
All
fine.
right, okay, John.
We'll take the next.
Read the checks, go ahead.
I'm not going to read the checks because you don't want me to.
Oh, well, there's a lot of things you do that we don't want you to do.
Well, there's
All
a
right.
lot of things that you're doing that
All
Oh,
I don't want you to
right,
do either.
guys.
So
All right.
All in favor,
Aye.
say aye. Aye.
For
All opposed, say nay. Motion
John,
carries
need your
5-0.
vote, one way or the other.
yay.
All right, Nancy, you are up.
Okay. Zoning officer report. In the month of June, 8 permits were issued. $1,178.91 in building fees was collected, and $1,250 in miscellaneous fees was collected. No recreation, open space, or impact fees were collected. 32 inspections were performed. There were 2 zoning issues reported. Jeff, do you want to share anything from the month in terms of zoning?
Not that I know of off the top of my head, Nancy.
Okay. All right.
What's the status of the DeFrancisco project issue?
Jeff has violated that property again. Jeff Ogles has violated that property again, and it is now posted. And I do have an update for some of the other items if you want to hear it.
I would like to hear it.
The 4 Duncan Lane with the overgrowth of bamboo, those people, those residents are now looking for someone to cut it for them because they, they're trying to bring it into compliance. And the 1833 New London Road, their property is for sale, and our contractor went in Monday to mow the grass, and the bank is reaching out to him so he can continue cutting it for them.
Joan, I had trouble hearing you, but has the bank finally cut the grass at 1833 New London Road?
No, Jim cut it this Monday.
Okay,
And
thank you.
The bank is reaching out to him so he can continue to cut it for them.
Okay, great. Okay, so there was no motions or actions on this. Mary, do you want to take the next one?
The PC.
The PC, they did not hold a meeting in July, so there's no discussion, I'm guessing, unless anybody
Paul, is there
has any input.
anything?
And then the HARB.
Okay,
All right, I'm unmuted. I
Okay,
had mentioned
thank-
before the meeting, Nancy, that I had no report to give. I don't think I got on ahead of you, so you.
Okay, yep, no problem.
all right.
You want me to go next?
Yeah, thanks.
Yes, please.
Donna.
Okay, fine. Okay, so I would like to ask the Park Recreation Open Space Board to present the report. And to do this, I'd like to introduce you to Greg Sachs.
Hi, Greg.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's nice to virtually meet everybody. So, I'm gonna just give a couple updates and then I'm gonna pass it over to Paul Overton, because he has more updates that he's a little more familiar with. But first, as far as the elected officers, I was appointed the chair, Greg Sachs. Vice chair was Jim German, and secretary was Kyle Bianco. As far as the other update I had, we met with Dave Hocking and Kenny Roberts, who are the farmers who do the mowing on the preserve meadows. We went over, basically talked to them regarding changing the mowing schedule in a way to make it more ecologically beneficial. And we agreed that it would still be beneficial to them to move the mowing to after August 15th and do a once a year mowing versus the two times a year. That includes, I guess, the three preserves, the Franklin Preserve, Goodwin Preserve, and Crossan Park meadows.
Terrific. Is that for the butterflies or for the?
Yeah, the focus is on pollinators, as well as the ground nesting birds, and just the habitat in general for pollinators, butterflies, bees, that type of thing. So it provides more habitat overall. Yeah.
Terrific.
Yeah. So I was going to, after that, turn the floor over to Paul, let him kind of discuss the rest of the updates.
Can I just make one comment before it goes to Paul? So the Ford Farm, which is a trail, one of the park trails, I think, we checked with Natural Lands. I think Jeff did the legwork to see how often they cut that trail, because the residents are concerned about ticks and Lyme and everything else. I think it's been getting cut once a month, and they cut pea still about once a week. So I don't know what you guys think is the right amount of time, but if you could think about that and then just let us know.
Sure. So you're referring to the actual trail itself, correct?
Yes, just the trail, not anything else.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Greg.
Uh-huh.
Okay, thanks, Greg. This is Paul. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Well, in keeping with the trail discussions, we did have volunteers do trail maintenance at Bamshire this month. And we plan on doing a trail maintenance on the Keene Trail later this week, probably Friday evening. So all the trails need constant maintenance, but the ones in the woods can probably just be trimmed once a year, but the ones in the open meadow or in the sunlight can need it more often. But that's the activity we did recently. Another update is we had an Eagle Scout contact the township looking for an Eagle Scout project. We gave him a few options to think about, and I'm sure he's talking to other townships as well and other organizations, but if he chooses one of our projects, he'll do what he normally does, which is present the project to you, the Board of Supervisors, and to get your approval and possibly funding. I don't know. So
terrific.
We haven't heard back from him yet on if he's interested. He might have a better offer somewhere else. I don't know. One more is the Goodwin the Crossan bathrooms. We're talking about getting them reopened because I know they're closed for the virus, and we might require cleaning more often. I don't know what the rules are, but if you think about other places like Lowe's or Walmart or something, they have their bathrooms open. So I would think right now people are either having an accident, their children on the playground, or they're peeing in the woods, but that's not very sanitary. So I would like to suggest we reopen the bathrooms and maybe clean them once a day or something, and then put a sign on the door that says, use at your own risk, use precautions or whatever. I don't know. It just doesn't seem right that the park's getting a lot of use because people are working from home and the bathrooms are closed.
You do make a good point. If they're not open, people find other solutions, which is not a good way to go.
Yeah,
Joan addressed that today, Paul. Maybe Joan would jump in and tell you what the township is planning for the bathrooms, opening them and how they're going to clean them.
Okay, I spoke with John Hocking, and he has agreed to do touch surface wipe down every night before he closes the park up. So he'll have sanitary wipes and cleaners and whatever's necessary to go in and do the surfaces. And then every week, once the bathrooms are open, he normally does a good cleaning once a week. So he'll do that on a daily basis before he closes the park up every night. So at least we'll be able to use the bathrooms.
Great.
So we're going to agree to open them up, right? So I think that we make that agreement, or do we have to pass a motion?
I don't think so.
I don't think
We
it's a
didn't pass
motion.
the motion to close them.
No.
Okay, I would just like us to do it.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
The one thing I wanted to add too is the township has been proactive with this, and we started our water testing about a month and a half ago. So we're ready to go. It's just a matter of John doing a touch cleaning, once a day. So, we could probably start that tomorrow or Friday.
That's good. Let's start it tomorrow. That would be great.
Joan, do you have any idea what the cost will be on a weekly basis to clean every day?
I have to wait to see how long it takes, John. Then I'll be able to tell you that answer. Okay. So if he starts doing it like tomorrow night, if we open him tomorrow morning and he starts cleaning tomorrow night, and he can tell me how long it takes him.
I'm not opposed to open them. I just think that we ought to have a cost indication of what the stake is.
Yeah, good point.
Now,
Do we have sanitizer pumps in the bathrooms? Dispensers?
we have gel hand cleaner, right?
We have
Soap.
gel, we have soap, and then we have the hand dryers.
Yeah, so there's no top hand drying or no paper towels.
Okay.
So Joan, in the past, how often were they cleaned, like last year? Was it once a week?
Once a week.
So the new part will be that every evening he wipes the touch surfaces with a wipey.
Yes, with some type of
Yeah. Clorox wipe or something.
but yeah, he's going to go check it out to see what he wants to use.
And does John still go to the park every evening to lock the gate? Is that still his job?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so he's already at the park. So the additional time is the wiping of the surfaces. So maybe
Yes.
15 or 20 minutes or 30 minutes at max if it's really nasty in there. I don't
Right.
know. Okay, thank you. So John, you probably,
Thanks to him for taking that on, because it's one more thing and that it's important to do.
All right, I got a question on the Bamshire Bridge. What's the status of the DEP permit?
okay, I was going to wait that till last, but I can do that
Okay,
now.
go ahead. No, go ahead. If it's in your normal presentation, Paul, go ahead and
No,
Good
we'll
in
go to the
sequence.
bridge. So the estimate of the bridge hasn't changed. My estimate is around 7,000, but you guys said up to 10. But my intention is 7,000. Going through the permit approval processes, the drawings have changed a little bit. And Jeff has done a great job getting me some hard prices on some of the materials. And I haven't entered that into the estimate. So I don't have a up-to-date estimate, but it appears to be around the same. I don't see any big changes, to answer your question. Now, as far as the permitting, I got a whole list of approvals here, so there might be a lot of acronyms. The Pennsylvania Natural Diversity Inventory, which is the PNDI, did a species review and approved, but responded with an additional clearance review from DCNR and the USFWS, which is the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So both the DCNR and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service have given clearance, one for the clearance impact to autumn bluegrass and one for clearance for impact to bog turtles. We also have Pennsylvania DEP approval. General permit number 7 for stream crossing is approved. We also have the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers PA SPGP 5 permit approval with approval from the National Park Service due to the White Clay Creek being a wild and scenic river. So I don't know what I read there, like 7 approvals, but they're all approved. But the last one we're waiting on is a Franklin Township building permit.
Well, congratulations. Getting through those organizations was a real chore. I'm really
Well, all the credits with John at LTNL. He handled it. And But back to my original comment I made a month ago was I don't have any plan to go out there with a group in masks in the heat of the summer and try to work 6 feet apart from each other. So, right, I want to do this safely, and it's waited, whatever, 6 years. It can wait another couple months until the fall, and hopefully things will improve in Chester County where we don't have to wear masks everywhere.
Absolutely. The summer's a good time to get stung by a bunch of hornets or whatever. Just don't do it.
So I'm just going to put it on the shelf, but in the meantime, I can work on the cost estimate and improve that. And then one more thing is the foundation design is pretty significant, John. They've want a 3-foot dug foundation with a spread footer at the bottom. And I was going to see if we can come up with a better foundation design in the meantime to cut the cost down. So if it's rejected, then we'll just go with what's approved. But otherwise, we might improve the foundation. And I'm thinking about drilled micro piles. You just auger them in by hand, and they don't disturb any soil. There's no digging. You just auger.
The issue you're likely to encounter there, and you have to think about it, is you're right in the stream bed. So as soon as you start to penetrate the bed, you're going to be into various rock layers.
Yeah, and if we hit a solid rock layer, bedrock, then we're good. The pile will be driven to completion.
Yeah.
But just think about hand digging in that same scenario, right? It's going to be pretty tough. Anyway, that's the update, and our only goal now is to reduce cost.
So Paul, let me ask you a question. So why, if you got a permit, it sounds like you've jumped over a lot of hoops. Why change? I mean, your costs are good.
For two reasons. One is the foundation requirement's pretty significant, Don. It's a lot of digging, and what John just pointed out is a pretty rocky area, and so that's hand digging. These micro piles are pretty slick. You just auger them in and you're done. So it's a lot less disturbance to the stream bed and the area as well.
Well, the only caution I give you is be careful with the DEP and changing your plans. Those guys are notoriously bad if you make any minor change.
No, absolutely. If the engineer approves it, if the engineer approves it, DEP will have to sign off on it.
Okay.
Right, and it would just be, I think, an email saying, can we reduce the foundation's square footage of disturbance area?
Okay, so you don't have to redo the whole permit. You just have to.
Right. Right, and if I talk to LTL and they say forget it, it's not worth changing everything, then we won't.
But the reason you're doing it is it's not the cost. It's just because of the digging. You're trying to reduce some of the labor.
Both, really, both. And also, Donna, I think these micro piles are more durable. I think they're a good solution.
Oh, so you see it as an improvement. Okay.
Yeah, an improvement.
Thank you.
All right, so that was it. Any other questions on Babshire?
No.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
I have one more update. This is more of a question, and maybe John can fill us in a little bit, but a few years ago, and I don't know when, maybe 2 years ago, there's a culvert under Route 841 at the Goodwin Preserve, and the culvert was backing up. There were some drainage issues where it wasn't draining into the preserve properly, and so the township cleared a channel for the water to flow, and the water. The new channel was diverted away from where it used to flow, but the result is it's now flooding the recently planted trees. Whenever we did that 8 years ago or something, so the trees are in standing water, maybe 3 to 6 inches of standing water, and of course it's not all the trees, but it's several dozen, maybe 50, 60 trees, something like that, and you can see maybe a handful to 10 or 12 are dead. So a tree can survive a while in standing water, but it can't survive permanently in standing water. So I talked to Joan and, said, is it possible to put the channel back to its original direction where the water drains to the White Clay Creek and just clean it out so the water flows? But, with with all the cost pressure you guys have and discussion on spending money, to me, it's a township road culvert cleaning issue, but it is in the preserve. That's why I'm presenting it. So I don't know how to address it. And I offered maybe I could bring any supervisors who want to go see the situation, bring them out there in the field and show you. Although it is hard to see because the grass is about 3 feet high. But I have pictures of from when the grass, before it had grown. I can show you the pictures. And then you can still see where the water is standing around the trees. So you won't be able to see where the stream flows because of the grass.
Well, Paul, I don't recall the issue. We did a lot of culvert pipes and things are kind of blending together. I would suggest that we do as you suggested, as asked Jeff Eastburn and Jim DeRazio to go out and look at it and make an assessment of what the condition is and what remedies may be available.
We did, yes. Jeff and Jim went out there and agreed to put it back in the old channel, and they see the situation. But we have an initial cost from Jim DeRazio, about $6,000, $6,100, I think it was. And that's just an estimate of time and material. You know, that's not a lump sum bid, that's just his time adjustment. And we talked about maybe looking at some alternatives to see if we can get that down, but basically he would redig the channel to the new location or the old location.
Okay, so it sounds like maybe you want to do a little more research and then you can come to the board and the next board meeting. Will that be okay to talk about it and talk about cost and we could vote on it?
Yes, yeah, and I'm trying to push it over to, you know, the road crew, not the parks crew.
Okay, well, Jeff, do you want to take it then? And
Sure, I'd be more than happy to work with Paul and Jim and then we can report back.
Yeah, and any supervisors who want to go out there, I'd like to take them out and show them the situation.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'd be interested in seeing that.
Okay.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, anybody have any other questions for Greg or Paul?
Okay.
I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate your involvement. It's just wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so next we have Nan Latimer from the Comp Plan Task Force Committee. Will present a summary of the first meeting and will be available to answer any questions.
Hi. Yeah, we had our first meeting and it was, we had introductions and we had all of the task force members except for one. We had 3 people from Chester County Planning. We had Janine, who's the leader. We had Benny and we had Mason. Yeah, Mason. One's a writer and one does GIS. So we had a lot of conversation actually about the survey. Just to review about how the comp plan is done, it's driven all by the resident survey. It's basically a plan that's done by the residents for the residents, and the comp plan task force is the one that organizes it, gets it written up and presents it. So we had a lot of conversation about how to reach out to the residents because historically we've had meetings where people would come and we would discuss it in a public meeting and then do the survey and then have another public meeting. We're still going to do the same thing, but of course we're going to have to do it in Zoom. We had conversations about maybe holding it at the park, and then there was all sorts of questions about, well, what do you do with the microphone? And people are 6 feet apart. So it just didn't work out. So I think that we pretty much decided to do the community meeting via Zoom, and then the survey will be online. So Janine is now working on the survey, which we will go through at our next meeting. And we'll work with the township about how to reach out to the residents, which would be one by a postcard that we would mail to everyone that says, get online on the township website, connect into SurveyMonkey and do the survey. There was talk of maybe some door-to-door reaching out to communities that have email lists using a revised newsletter that I think you guys are working on, a Facebook page, but I want to assure the board that we are doing everything to try to reach to all residents to get as many responses as we can, because it's very important that we learn from the residents what they want. So the second thing is that I hope that that you got a revised table of contents. Did you supervisors, did you get that?
Yes.
Okay. So in going through with Chester County, they had done chapter 1 and chapter 2 on the template that you all, the supervisors, had approved through the scope of work. And it became apparent to me that it was a plan that could likely get bogged down. And I was looking more for a plan that's not, I don't want to use the word streamlined because that's not what it is. It's the same amount of information, but we're switching it so people can go to the sections that they want and get the information that they want. So the most important thing is an introduction, which if you look at that revised table of contents, which is the introduction, which goes through like who we are basically. You know, we're a rural township, we have this many residents, we have this many acres and that sort of thing. And then it goes through the steps of the comprehensive plan, which is purpose, you know, how you do it, what's required, and that sort of thing. And then the next section, the next chapter actually would be the findings of the task force from the survey and the recommendations. And it would be a matrix, which they all have, but they usually make it the last chapter. So I would move it up to the second chapter, and then we would move into the deeper stuff, which is all of the sections where if you wanted to read more about how did they come to that conclusion, that sort of thing, it's there. And then the appendices would attack things like tables on population and housing and that sort of thing, which if somebody really is a data freak, they can get in there and look at all of that. So what I'm asking the board tonight is that I just want to see if I have your support. I've talked to both the supervisors that are on the task force with me. I've talked to Janine, who's the Chester County leader. I've talked to her boss, Susan, and everybody's on board, but they would like just to hear your support to support this change from the template to this more resident-friendly approach to presenting the data.
No, I think this makes a lot more sense. I like this, you know, having all the metric data in the front was a little bit too confusing for folks.
Right.
Usually that kind of information's in an appendix anyway, so I think that's the right place for it. And the other nice thing about that, because we had a lot of discussion about what data should be in there and what shouldn't be in there. And if you put it in the appendix, you can be a lot more open about what you add, right? You can add more information in the back. So it makes it a lot easier to add things in an appendix without confusing the story that you're telling with the actual comp plan.
Yes, that's true. That's a good point. The other thing is that with the census data this year, that we can add that at any time. It's going to be delayed. It actually may be delayed past the point that we're going to do the comp plan, but we can go back and revise those tables and add the actual data at a later date.
Well, it's pretty exciting, Nan. This has been a long time coming, and we couldn't be luckier than to have you involved in it and helping to bring it forward. I think your suggestions are really spot on. It's for the residents, and so the easier we make it for them to get the information they need, the better. And I couldn't be more proud of you guys. You're off to the races.
Nan, can I make a comment, Nan?
Sure.
A little later in this meeting, I'm going to talk about this mailed newsletter that Sharon and I have got prices on, and we're going back and forth. And we're going to start on the articles right away. And we hope that by the August Board of Supervisors meeting, we can get a vote, yes or no. Yes, go ahead with it. Here's, you know, how much you can spend. So I want to try and coordinate with you. I know you want to send out a postcard in August, I thought.
That's when the survey, we hope to have the survey online in August. It will be online for 6 weeks.
Okay. Well, hopefully we can get that in this mailed newsletter later. I'd like to work with you to try and coordinate the two. And just another way to tell people, you know, take the survey. We really need your input.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Just to mention that we had a good turnout when we did it in 2004. I think we had about a 30% response rate, which is nice. That's what London Britain had when they did it just, a year or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So
and
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, in 2004, sorry, Nan, that was a mailed survey, or?
Yeah, it
how
had
did-
to be mailed. It had to
Yeah.
be mailed. There's no way it was online. It was mailed.
Yeah, so that's a great, you know.
Yeah.
to have
Yeah,
that kind
so
of
I think we might have maybe even a better. Oh, I want to mention this, that Joan had a great suggestion as well. So there may be some people that don't want to do it online or can't do it online or for whatever reason, that we're going to reach out to them by saying, you can come into the township and we'll assist you, which might be sitting down with one of the township folks, you know, filling it out for them online as they as they say that what their answers are, or you know, doing it in a paper so they can see it first, so they sign it and make sure they don't have to sign it, but make sure that that they got the right answers. So we're going to really work hard to reach out to everyone. It's so important, and I'm very excited. We have nice residents, and this is a time for them to really, you know, voice their opinions on how they want the township to be in 10 years.
So Nan, I have a question.
Go ahead,
Can I
Donna.
ask a question? So Nan, you talked about the new setup, the new table of contents, which I think makes sense. Actually, I thought this is what we thought we were doing, so maybe we got mixed up in terms of what we agreed to. But you talked about who you've already had agreement with, and you said that you had agreement with David, and you had agreement with Mary, and you had agreement with the woman that's helping you put this all together. But I'm assuming the task force is also in agreement, right? The folks that are in the actual team, like this new approach.
Yeah, I mean, I will talk to them. Donna, you make a good point, but the problem is, so you want to save money. So I'm trying not to get bogged down, and I'm trying to pick the things that the task force is most interested in, which would be the survey. And to answer your question directly is that I haven't removed any information. I've just moved it around.
No, I think it's great. I just think the task force is your task force. It just would be, and I think this is like a no-brainer. I would hope most people would agree to it. It might be nice just to make sure that they're with you on this, Nan.
Well, I agree. Donna, I'm not trying to keep them out of it. I just want to let you know that. So if you look back at your paperwork that you signed in February to do the comp plan,
Right.
There's actually a timetable. And if I get off that timetable, we're gonna have to get into extra hours, and I'm not gonna do that. So I will send out with the agenda, which I'm gonna do shortly. Janine and I are working on it. I will send out with the agenda that we've changed the format, not gotten rid of any of the information, but changed the format. And if anybody has an issue with it, they can let me know, rather than wait all the way to the next meeting, because I got 2 weeks where I can have those writers working on the introduction. And at the meeting, we can go over the introduction and keep moving. I've got to keep them moving, or we're going to spend more money than you want to do. And you're going to be yelling at me in a couple.
I'm not yelling at you. No, I just know how teams work. And it's just good to bring them along. You're doing that, so that's good. As long as
I'm trying, but you know what I mean? I got to have my little stick out too. We got to keep going.
Don't beat them too much.
I won't. They're nice people. They really are. It's a nice group. It's a nice cross section of the township. So I'm excited about it.
That's great. All right, any other supervisors?
Yeah, I have some comments. Nan, I think one thing about the community values study is that was done in 2004, and the participation rate was 24%, as I recall. It's really hard to find people to do that, and I think the separate postcard is probably the best way to go. You might get lost. Get lost in the newsletter, because we'll talk about some issues with the newsletter later. It might lead you to believe you want to do a separate postcard.
We are doing a postcard.
We are, yeah, we're doing both. So what Mary was saying is it just supports us. I mean, we're just going to try to, as any way we can, to let them know to do it.
It was pretty clear that we said we were going to do the postcard.
The other characteristic of the community values study, and I got a copy of it here somewhere, is that all the things you're asking residents for are things that everybody wants, but there are never any economic consequences attached to any of the choices. So somehow you got to put some consequences in this study related to the choices, or otherwise you're going to get people to check off everything that they like. So,
well, that's the point of the survey, John. I mean, that's
well,
what
like
people
I said,
do. Wait, let me finish.
Okay, I'm sorry.
They also have the ability to say what they don't like, and it's your job as the Board of Supervisors to say what you'll do and what you don't do. So it's your job to say you can't do it, because there may be people that are going to tell you that they want jogging trails on the side of the roads and the setbacks all over the township. But
That's
you
right.
you can't shut them down until you say, we can't afford it. Don't shut them down. Let them speak. It's a survey that's it's for the residents, by the residents. It's, they have an ability, there's a comment section. If they say, oh, I don't want jogging trails because it's too expensive, I'm not going to direct it.
I think
I'm
the
not
survey,
going to direct it. I'm telling you that now.
the survey
They-
lacks credibility if you don't have some economic consequences.
No, you're
for
directing
choices.
the survey. Let them speak.
So, right,
You know,
I mean, I think that's what's so important about this.
well,
is
it's
that-
important because
John, can I finish?
I'm not finished here. We all know what happened in 2011 when the communications to the community wasn't very good. So we need not to repeat that issue.
What issue are you speaking about?
Of the open space loan.
Okay. All right. So are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. So for the past 6 years, the public really, the only way they've had a voice is with voting. And we're here for the public. The public isn't here for us. So we have to flip our thinking, what we want to do, and why the comprehensive plan is so important, and why Dave, Mary, and I have really pushed it. And luckily we have Nan leading it, is because this is the public's chance to say, I would like to have a say in how you spend your money. Now they can't make all the decisions about spending money, but they can give us guidance. And believe it or not, they may have some very wise and useful ideas that we wouldn't know about if we didn't ask them. And then it's our job to make it work, or if we can't make it work, to explain why.
And the other thing is, you have to understand is that, John, you were in arrears, that this plan should have been done every 10 years. And it hasn't. It hasn't. And
Well,
so,
just a quick comment on the comprehensive plan. When it came up at the 10-year period, we were amassed in all the zoning issues related to gourmet. It just was the wrong atmosphere to do that kind of work.
Well, that was 4 years ago, John.
but wait a minute. So it's the wrong atmosphere to do something like that?
Yeah, because
you don't want to listen to your residents? Is that what you mean?
no,
You didn't want them to fill out a survey and say that they were unhappy?
all I could say is that we had serious zoning challenges on the township there, both on.
And you still have them. You still have them. And it's going to be addressed in the comprehensive plan, as you know.
All right.
And I'm not going to get into that now because that's a late date discussion, but it's going to be a rough one because of that whole thing. So I'm going to be tough on you, John, because this is where you and I differ. I love Franklin Township and I love the residents and I love going door to door and listen to them. This is the way we can go door to door where people sometimes don't answer their door. I want to know what they want. I want to know what they want, and we're going to do a plan. And when we do the plan, as a supervisor, you can vote to do it or not, but don't run scared because they might say something to you that you don't want to do. That's it.
All I'm saying is don't forget the past. It was really seriously, the public input was seriously misjudged in that period.
Okay, and that's why, we're just moving on. And actually, so does anyone have any other questions?
Oh, wait, what's this? I got a text. So John doesn't like Franklin Township from Stefan. What's that? Is that are your friends like texting you, John?
I'm not texting you. I like Franklin Township just as much as you do. I want to be able to live here and survive.
Well, I just was
economically.
curious about what that little funny text was. Why did I get that?
I don't have a texting phone, so
Why
it's
did
not good.
I'm on my computer like you are. That was weird. So Stefan, why did you text that? Oh, he says you just said that this is how we disagree.
No, you said it, Nan. So it's just, I think it was just the way your words could have been taken out of context. You have made a comment, this is where you and I disagree. John, I love Franklin Township. So I just think it was that
Well,
maybe
let me rephrase it. But I love Franklin Township residents, all of them. And I want to know what they want. And that's why I'm doing the comprehensive plan. And that's it. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
John and I differ in a lot of things. So it's going to be a long 2 years, John.
Thank you, Nan. We're proud to have you with us. You have a whole lot of
thanks, guys. Goodbye.
Okay.
I'm leaving.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nan.
Bye.
Okay, so we're on to business. And I'm going to read this next one. We have a visitor, Brendan, I think, and Jeff are going to help us with it. But I make a motion that the Board of Supervisors authorize the manager to engage robotics to perform a survey of the township roads at a cost not to exceed $180 per mile. Seconded by.
I'll second that.
Thanks, Dave. All right, discussion. And Jeff and Brendan, you want to start things out?
Sure, I'll start if Brendan doesn't mind, just a minute or two.
Not at all.
I believe it was Joan and Mary who first saw robotics in the PSATS magazine. And they had asked me about contacting robotics. And to me, this was very exciting. And I have to thank Brendan for all of his patience with me with going through the testing phase. And we were able to do a 5-mile free test with robotics. And Brendan is here this evening to present that information to us and answer all the questions that the board has this evening. So if Joan can share her screen with Brendan, he can take over if the board is okay with that.
Hello, Brendan, and welcome.
Hello, it's nice to meet everybody. It's been nice to sit in. For a little bit of context, my name is Brendan. I'm the Assistant Director of Growth here at Roadbotics. We're a software-based, AI-based pavement assessment company. We were founded in 2016, and it's been quite an exciting journey, certainly, to see all of the different municipalities that have sort of taken on this technology into their asset management and also pavement assessment plans. We're working now with over 200 communities within the US. We work in 14 different countries. One of the bigger ones is Westminster. We actually have the roads surrounding Buckingham Palace on the platform. And so to see the 5 miles in Franklin Township using the same rating system as the roads that surround Buckingham Palace is a pretty incredible thing for myself and my team to see. And yeah, without further ado, I mean, Joan, if you would like to present your screen, we can do it on yours, or if you'd like me to present my screen, I can actually show you what Jeff was able to collect.
Your screen.
Certainly. All right, and you all can let me know when you see that map pop up. Sure, it looks a lot more familiar to you than it does to me.
Yep, looks great.
And so these are the 5 miles that Jeff was able to collect. And after, you know, a little bit of back and forth, I think he did a really wonderful job in both the selection of the roads that were picked, as well as the content that he was able to collect in action. And I see that he's gotten up for his chair, but if anybody would like to make a suggestion of which road they'd like to see first.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I like, first of all, I played with this a little bit
Fantastic.
yesterday and today, and I think it's a fantastic tool. One of the things I liked about it was, you know, really being able to visualize easily what's going on in the township, right? So you can see all these roads. And the second piece is that it's, you know, over time, you don't want to do this every year, but every so often you can actually get some trend lines, right? So you can see what's deteriorating. So I guess one of the things, one of the roads that might be a good one to look at to sort of showcase what it does is the upper right here, the long U-shaped road that shows you the different, it goes from, you know, the red to the green to the yellow. And you can kind of show folks what it looks like. And then how, yeah, perfect. So.
Right, and we'll look at the point level. And what the algorithm is actually doing is it's taking these 10-foot slices of the video data that Jeff collected while on the road. And excuse me, I gotta move the zoom thing. And so what you'll see is there's actually a picture slice. Every one of these colored points contains a picture slice of the pavement that Jeff was able to collect. And if I make this a little bigger, you'll notice that we have an address, a lat long coordinate for GIS purposes, as well as the date and time it was taken and the compass direction that you're traveling. And it allows you to really just drive along as if, you know, you were on the road, and also take out that the most subjective part about pavement assessment we found is that visual pavement assessment requires a human to actually assess the road itself. I think that there are humans far more qualified than I am to look at pavement and to make recommendations for what you should do with pavement. But I also think that it's much more valuable to you as a township to have those humans making the plans as to how you're going to have the best roads possible, and not necessarily taking the time to figure out which roads you need to fix first. Additionally, it gives you the opportunity to show your citizens and other interested parties different aspects of the roads in the rating system. I know that, David, some of what you said has spoken to communication with the citizens within Franklin Township. And something we recently unveiled is actually the ability to create an embeddable map to add onto your website, which can contain any amount of information you'd like. If you'd like it to contain just the roads you want to work on within 2020, or just the roads you want to work on in a 5-year plan, those are the roads that we'll show. And so it's been a really nice tool for municipalities to be able to reach for and share what is actually going on with the roads within a community. Because obviously, everybody has roads that they live on, and everybody wants their roads fixed first. I can say that I'm certainly guilty of it. But I'm also willing to admit that my road is probably not the worst road here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
So when you talk about that embedded map, and we'll go back to the actual capabilities in a bit, but when you talk
Certainly.
about the embedded map, is that something that's interactive, or is it a static image that people can say, okay, well, here's the 4 roads that we're working on this year, and this is why? Or can they do something like this where they can actually see something?
Exactly. So it is interactive in the same way that the roadway platform appears as it does. Since it is a web-based platform, you do have access to it on really any device with internet. And so the embeddable portion is this map minus some of the functionality, and that functionality is mostly customized as to what you're looking at, because you don't necessarily have to give the citizens all of the data or all of the ability to take screenshots and things of that nature.
But one of the things that we could do is, because you know, if the board decides to move forward, we're going to do a map of the township.
Certainly,
we could have this entire road quality map up on the township website, and
Absolutely.
residents can look at their road and see relative to other roads how they rank in orders. So it would help us communicate to the township why we make the decisions.
Absolutely. And I mean, the biggest thing that we have tried to accomplish both as a company in this platform and as a company as a whole is giving municipalities the ability to communicate what they're actually doing with the entities that may be barring those things from getting done. I know that, you know, your board is gracious and lucky enough to have people with engineering backgrounds on it. There are a whole lot of political and municipal boards that I've presented to and worked with that don't have anybody with any sort of engineering background, and they still understand what these results say. And it speaks to the just capabilities of what a system that can communicate what needs done really does for a municipality, and for things like budgets, for things like planning, for creating those preventative motions that can be so beneficial for the infrastructure of your community.
How often do you, I mean, it's probably different, but roughly how often do other municipalities that you work with do these road assessments?
It depends. I mean, a lot of what it's based on is whatever system they're coming from. We've had, you know, clients that have moved from van scans doing them every 3 to 5 years that have cut down to every 2 years. We've had communities, especially in the state of Indiana, where they have annual PASER ratings that they need to conduct. You know, they take place every year. They still do it every year. And really, it's a preference for the municipality and sort of a speed that you figure out you need to move in. I mean, I think you could easily build a 3-year plan out of it. I think that you could see, it depends on how much paving you get to do in 2020, but you could see a good deal of progress next year if you wanted to do that. The other thing that's a possibility to think about is if you wanted to pave, 2 or 3 miles, you could always just collect those miles for next year and just pay for those miles. And so you would have this update in the data for just the roads that were paved and see how that updates your overall network score.
So Brendan, what I really, really like about this, and first of all, let me say to everyone, this doesn't mean our roads are terrible, because you chose roads that have issues and that we're trying to fix. So I don't want people to feel like it's a judgment on.
No.
But we don't ever really know what our roads are like. We don't have a, measurable way of saying, are they getting better? Are they getting worse? Is the money we're spending the right thing? Should it go somewhere else? And we can create a plan, which we've never been able to do, because we've always just been looking year by year. We've never taken a long-term look at the roads. And so to me, it's really valuable to be able to set a strategic direction for the roads and to have some really good data to back it up and to allow our residents to see what's going on.
Certainly.
So let me comment, because I'm hearing two different things. And I agree, this is a great communication tool. The visual is very nice. The way you can zoom into things and go out of things, I think is very, very good. But I'm not so sure this is the best way to diagnose if a road has a problem or not. Because if I understand, Brendan, you're taking pictures, right? You're in a car and you're driving, so it's just what you can see, as opposed, you're not coring samples, you're not looking to see what's underneath. It's very much a visual inspection. And so I think we need to be clear, if we're looking for a communication tool, something we can put on the website, some way that we can visually show to our residents what's going on with our roads, that's one thing, and we should consider that. But if we're looking at this as a diagnostic tool to say which roads are good or not so good, beyond just what you can see on the surface, I think we're kidding ourselves. So I just want some clarity from us in terms of be clear what we're trying to do here.
I think it does give you some road analysis. So for example, I've got 3 packets here that John provided, and I don't see any core sample data. I just see pictures of roads, but I only get a handful of pictures of roads. Right, so there is no core sample. And when we were discussing the roads, you said, well, look at these roads. We should fix these roads. It wasn't look at these core samples,
No, I don't, David, that's not true. My understanding is that, and I'm going back to the road meeting, that we had core samples for those roads that we talked about, and that was part of the conversation that we had in terms of what roads from a priority perspective. So that was baked in to what was presented at the road meeting. We have pictures because they're easy, but and I think Jim's on the line. I think I saw his name. He's done coring, and that helped him give us.
I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying he doesn't, but the data that was presented to me showed no core sample data. It's just visual data.
Yeah,
Well,
David.
Wait a minute. Can I ask this? Isn't this, if we do decide to go with robotics, isn't this going to be in addition to our, Jeff going out there and walking the roads like he has for years, core samples, all that? This is going to be a tool to help them. And also help our residents. Like, why did you do my road? And or why did you not do my road? So this I think is going to have to be in coordination with what we already do. Am I right?
Mary, I think you're exactly right in that that this will be a guide to direct us to do inspections, but nothing's going to replace the visual work that Jeff and Jim do on the road program, because they see the roads all year long. They drive around the roads, and when they're driving around, they look at the roads, and we don't. We look at other things. But by the time you get to the point where you're ready to write a report, they pretty much know where they're going. The other thing that this particular program would not give you, and I'm going to ask Brendan about this, is one of the issues we always have with roads and what makes them last long is proper drainage. Does this program indicate in any way what the crown situation is? Because that's a key element in our road evaluation, whether crowns are right.
Certainly. No, and I think we've had a good number of clients, especially in the South, in Georgia specifically, where they have some severe flooding that hurts their roads that are not so well irrigated. And I will say that, frankly, no, it's not going to show you if the crowns are right or not.
Okay. I don't think that's disabling by any means.
No.
I think the program really provides some excellent information, but it's not a replacement for what we do. The other thing that our team does is when they're driving around when it's raining. And that is a key element to see how the roads shed the water and how the swales on the sides convey it away. That's an important element that they need to provide. Related to the destructive testing that David just mentioned, which is the core samples and roll tests.
Certainly.
We only do those when the surface evidence indicates that there may be a base deficiency. So it's not economical to go around and core sample the whole township or do a roll test. But Jeff and Jim have a real eye for this thing. And when they see something suspicious, then they do it. I'll give you an example. We had, I think it was last year, we came out of winter and there was a problem on Ways Run down around where you live, where the road came apart.
Right.
And the worry there was, is the base bad because, that road was put in the same time that Brothers Riding was, and that had an enormous amount of base deficiencies. So Jim did core that road all the way up from where you were, all the way to the top of the road, and we found that the base is solid there. So we did the core sample. It gave us good results, and we didn't have the base repair issue that we thought we might have. So that's one way that core sample comes in. Another thing they do is when they strip off the top layer of asphalt and get down to the base layer, that's another indicator that they see that could indicate some base problems, and they occasionally do roll tests on that. But the application of those destructive testings are limited to areas that they're suspicious of. So it's not economical to do it all the way.
Right. No, absolutely. And once again, like I said earlier, this isn't to replace or get rid of systems that are already in place. It would really be to readjust Jeff's time specifically to be able to get more of that testing done by seeing, if you look at these points, you have these singular red points. And if we click on a singular red point and move up, no, that's not a red point, excuse me. I need to zoom in more. You'll see right on the right-hand side there that we have some failure on the curb coming out of that driveway. And so that's what Jeff would have the ability to see at a high level all at once. And that's what would give them the indication in the road crew, the indication that they could go out and instead of, having to drive and notice these things, they'll be able to notice them from the comfort of their desk. And that obviously expedites the ability for them to tackle the problems that are on the roads.
I agree completely. I think the program really surprised me in the kind of data that it provided, because it really validated some of the work we've already done. Absolutely. And also some of the work we're proposing to do.
Yes.
I mean, the roads that were indicated in green, Laurel Bridge Road and Churchill Road, both of those roads some years ago underwent a total reconstruction. I mean, Churchill Road was taken down to dirt. So we started with new base, new intermediate asphalt, new top. And we also widened the road in areas to get a consistent width, and trees came out. Same thing happened on Laurel Bridge Road, where the sections in green are indicated. So you're indicating them as high quality, and they are, because that's the work that was done. So when you look at some of the other roads that are indicated yellow, orange, and red, they're the roads that are on our list. So
Yes.
from a validation standpoint, the short program you did for 5 miles really validates what we're doing and some of the work that Jim and Jeff have done to define the road issues.
Absolutely.
So I think the program has real merit in looking at the whole township. So I would support it. Initially I thought, how could this thing do anything visually like that? But it
You
does.
wouldn't be the first.
And if we didn't have all our own road data to compare it to,
Right.
then I'd wonder. But I did have Jeff pull out the photos. We take extensive photographic evidence of these road failures.
Yeah.
So I had him pull out some of the photos of the roadways that show in yellow and orange. So when you look at those photos, they're all alligator cracked up and down both lanes.
Of
So
course.
you're right on with the condition of the road. So that's pretty much my comment. I'm pretty pleased with it, quite frankly.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear it.
Okay, other comments?
Nope, I'm good.
Mary or Donna, any thoughts or questions?
No, I think the discussion was helpful, so thank you. That was really
You're
helpful.
very welcome.
No, I'm ready to vote.
Okay,
I got some notes and I can't see them right now because the screen's blocking me.
Let me stop presenting.
Let me just go back and review my notes and see if I got all my comments out here. Trying to get to a Word file that's buried underneath it here, and I don't quite know how to get to it.
Stop share. There we go.
just
All right, hold on.
minimize.
Well,
There
hold
you
on
go.
a second here. Let me get to this.
Without a doubt.
Now I got it. No, you got all my comments. I mean, I finished up with, from an overall sense, I reviewed a report as a validation of work completed by the township in the
Certainly.
past and all proposed work evaluated for this year's program. So I don't see any others. I think your program can't do everything for us, but it certainly provides some real insight to the condition of the roads. So we still need to do our visual evaluation and some destructive testing when necessary. So
Okay, time to vote, John. Time to vote.
So I don't know, Jeff, if we need to decide the number of miles we want to do or just say, or that'll come later.
Well,
there's a proposal for $7,000, and I assume that was the whole township. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, we've got a PO here.
You're on mute, Dave.
We have a PO here based on the mileage in the township. And so that's
Okay.
what we're based
Like $6,800 or something?
Okay. So unless I have the wrong motion, all I have is that we have to perform a survey at a cost not to exceed 180 per mile, but we didn't say how many miles.
I think it's, yeah, and I think that's what the PO takes care of.
It's like 33 miles. Is that right, Joan?
Nancy, we did it that way because at that time we did not have the quote from Brendan and we didn't know, we only had the liquid fuel map and that's not really accurate for the miles. So that's why we put the exact mileage in or the exact dollar amount in, but the $180 per mile comes out to the quote.
So if we vote, I guess the question is, if we vote to pass this motion, we can execute the purchase order as it's written.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, Brendan, I got one other question here.
Certainly.
Related to the technique. In this case, Jeff Eastburn gathered the photographic data for his cell phone. Is that typically the way it's done, or does somebody from your firm come out and actually collect the data?
That's actually typically the way it's done. And that's in twofold. Number one is COVID really hindered our ability to travel for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
And so moving towards the self-collection was a little bit of a necessity. But
Yeah.
the more that we did it, once again, you know the roads better than anybody else there. You know the weather patterns better than anybody else there. And so Jeff being able to wake up and go collect data in the most efficient manner speeds up the process exponentially and actually gives us the ability to give you the data much faster.
Okay, so you're satisfied with the quality of data that Jeff collected for you?
Certainly. And Jeff, I mean, Jeff and any other interested parties will go through a brief 1-hour training upon execution of the PO. Most of the information Jeff already knows, but there's a few little tips and tricks just to bring those images up to another level. But really, it's not very copious. And I think that he did a fantastic job for not going through hardly any training at all and just a few conversations with me on the phone.
Okay, so your PO is based on us providing the data from our camera. Right? Okay, understood.
Okay, so.
Wait, Nancy, just a
Yes.
second. So before you read the motion, I think you're going to read it as $180 per mile. Can I just get some assurance in terms of what number? What's our top number? Is it that $6,800 number? Is that the maximum we would be spending? Or thereabouts?
6840 is the PO.
That would be the
I
back.
think I would like to include that in the motion.
That would be great. Thank you.
So I'll change the motion. I make a motion that the Board of Supervisors
38 miles, right?
authorize the manager to engage Robotics to perform a survey of the township roads at a cost not to exceed $7,000. Seconded by?
I'll second that.
Okay. Do we have more discussion or are we ready to vote? Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0.
I'm so excited about this, Brendan. Thank you.
I am
Jeff,
too.
thank you so much for
Absolutely.
finding it, for doing all the legwork, and obviously for doing a really good job with it. So we all really appreciate that.
And thanks, Brendan, for sitting through the meeting and saying your piece.
Not at all. Not
We
at all.
offer therapy later.
I was going to say, I do need to go cook myself some dinner, but no,
Okay.
Thank you everybody for your time. And if anybody has any questions, give them to Jeff. He has my phone number and he can easily get a hold of me.
Great.
Great.
Thanks,
Thanks
Brendan.
again.
Fantastic. Have a great night, y'all.
Thank you, Brendan. Okay.
Mary, do you want to start the next one?
I do. I want to talk about this township newsletter that we want to mail to our residents. Sharon and I have been back and forth on the phone. And what we're trying to do is we were trying to get you a cost estimate, what this would cost. This is not going to be set in stone, but pretty darn close. But we need input from you guys. And here's what we came up with. It looks like if we want to go with a 4-page newsletter, to be a front and back and in the middle, it would be folded to a size about 5.5 by 8.5. If we did it in color, which we kind of like the color, we think that's more attractive than the black and white. We're looking at around $1,400. It could be a little less, maybe a few bucks more, but from the estimates we got, and God bless you, Sharon, you worked really hard on this. I told her, Sharon, enough. She was getting 10 estimates. God bless her. She was great. I got one. But anyway,
Well, that's actually, go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, and this would be a firm that would print from a PDF, although Sharon did find a firm that we just have to send them the info and they'll even set it up for us. They're going to print it, fold it, stamp it, and take it to the post office. $1,400. So
that's terrific.
Yeah, and I contacted a firm in Kennett Square. They do Pennsbury Township. They mail it 3rd class. Joan informed me, do not do 3rd class because our post office is so small that it could sit there for a month. Sharon found a company that will do what they call direct mail, which they'll send it to any post office we ask, and then it will go out. The good thing about that would be we can get feedback on any addresses that are not valid. 3rd class mail, you don't. They just throw it out. So we wouldn't know if it was a good address or not. And I think the feedback would be important. So I guess what we want to know tonight is, how many times a year would you like this newsletter to go out? Do you want black and white or color? If you go for black and white, you're saving a couple $100. That's per mailing.
Yeah, not worth
not
it.
a lot. Yeah. Let's see. Another big item that the printer in Kennett said to me, he said, find out how many people want to be involved in this. He said, here's what happens. When you do the newsletter and you send it out to 6 or 8 people for their input, by the time they get back to you, he said, I get 2 days to get it printed. So Sharon and I think what we'd like to do is get the newsletter together, send it out to, the Board of Supervisors and say, okay, you got 1 week to give us your input, take out, put in, and then it's going to the printer. Sharon and I kind of would like to control the time frame. I guess the other thing is, well, Sharon sent you all an email of the different printers and costs that she came up with. And she also sent you a list of items we'd like to include on the newsletter. So if you have any other ideas, we want to hear them. And if you think this is something we need to go forward with, Sharon and I want to start working on the newsletter right away so that when we get to the August meeting, we can say, okay, here's what it's going to cost. Here's who we are going to go with as a printer, and say yes or no, and then we're going to hit the ground running.
So by the
try to
August,
tie it in with the comprehensive plan.
so by the August meeting, would we have a mock-up of the newsletter as well, so we can kind of look at what we're gonna
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's our goal, Dave, to get it
Okay,
all
great.
ready to hit the ground running. But you can't vote tonight on that. We can't give you the exact money and all that, and what printer we're going to go to. We're still gathering that, but
I think there's a motion.
actually everything we can get in there. No, there's no motion here.
This is just an opportunity for us to talk about what we want in this
Talk about,
newsletter.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? Do you want color? What items do you want in it? You can, Sharon sent you a whole list of items we think should go in there. I'm not saying we can get them all in a 4-page newsletter, but maybe there's something that's really important. Send it to Sharon and we'll work on that too. But yeah, we want it good to go by August.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say my piece and then I'll be done for the night on the subject. But I think one of the things that I liked about this list, and it doesn't have to go through all of it, you don't have to do, all of the stuff, but it's just some of the big initiatives that we started in the first half of the year that the township might not be aware of. Right.
Yeah.
I know all of us had a very heated conversation about information and what township folks read. And a lot of folks actually don't pay attention to any of this. And so they may not even realize that there's a park and rec open space committee, and they might not even realize that a comprehensive plan update is happening. So I think that kind of stuff in there, and the website's the most important thing because we want people to come and visit it. So this is a good opportunity to do that. So I think those, the big initiatives that we've done, is something we definitely want front and center on what we're
Well,
doing.
Dave, that's kind of what we want to do with this newsletter, drive people to the website, because that's the latest and greatest information, the website. And that's what we're going to try and accomplish.
The website's not ready. I mean, so I agree with you, Mary. That would be a great idea if we actually had the website up and running, right?
Well, Donna, hopefully, they originally gave us a time frame of 3 months. Most of the other townships that they work with, they got their website in 2 months. We have coronavirus. And what's happened is the firm has gotten extremely busy because everybody had to go online. So I would think 3 months would be like the best time frame, maybe a little longer, but I'm hoping sometime in August.
And we can also edit that. So if we have line of sight to when that website launches, if it's not launched, we won't include it in it.
Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, I'm totally with you that it would be a great focal point if we knew it was up and running. But I hate to drive people to something that doesn't exist yet. So we just have to be.
Yeah, I think that's something that we'll do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mary,
So
I have a clarifying question to ask because maybe I'm just not following. When you went through the cost, is it $1,400? That's everything. That's the printing and the postage. Did I understand that right, or is it $2,800?
Yeah, that's what we're coming up with. About $1,400, and that's for about 1,500 copies. Oh, and here's another item we discussed, and give us your feedback. Some of the townships don't just send it out to their residents. They'll put it at, like, say, John Lawrence's office, maybe at this little convenience store that's just opened on 896. Places like that where our residents might go in and they might pick it up. So I don't know how you feel about that.
That's a great idea. And that's something
Terrific.
that we can do pretty inexpensively at the township office, right? We'll just, burn off 50 copies and throw it into the, local convenience store or Landenberg store or whatever.
Or,
Right.
yeah. So Mary and Sharon, kudos to you guys. We had heard horror stories. This was going to cost $10,000, $20,000. You found a way to do it so reasonably. There are people who do not use the internet. It's very important to reach out to them. I think we've accomplished so much, and I'd like people to know everything that's going on right now that they may not realize. So my 2 cents is probably twice a year feels right to me, but we can do it and then see what goes on from there. But color for sure, I don't see why we wouldn't do color. And I'm just really impressed.
Well, what I would like to encourage everybody on the board to do, look over the list that Sharon sent you in an email today of the subject matter that we want to try and include. And if we miss something, let us know and we'll get working on it right away. Or if there's something on that list, you say, no, like I said, I don't know if we can fit all this in 4 pages, but we'll do our darn best.
Right. Because if you put too much, people don't read it. So we have to find that middle ground. Yeah.
Okay. Mary, I'm not opposed to what you're doing here, but I do want to share some key learnings. We had a newsletter for a long time when I was originally on the board, and we eventually stopped it. And I'll talk a little bit about why that happened. I'm not opposed to what you're doing, but I think you need to understand why we ended up not doing it. Let me find those notes. In some significant door-to-door activities in the past, because I put a lot of effort into the newsletter. I wrote a lot of these things, generated the articles and put it together. So I was interested to see who was reading it. So during some door-to-door activities in 2013 and 15, I specifically asked people about it. And unfortunately, very few people were aware of the newsletter, in spite of the fact that I know every resident household received a copy in by normal posts. I made this effort very strongly just to find out. So that's one issue, is getting people to read it. And that's probably why we got out of it. There was a lot of pushback when we were talking about stopping it. We didn't stop it right away. There was a lot of discussion over quite a few years about it. And there was a fair amount of people that said, well, look, there are people who are not on computers and they're not computer literate. And that may have been the case back in 2013, but I don't think that's the case now. Right now, people are accustomed to a 24-hour news cycle with little interest in a month-old newsletter. So,
well, John,
everybody,
what we're hoping, John,
pardon?
we're hoping to, what we're hoping to do is send it out there and then ask whoever receives it, how would you like to receive this newsletter? And I'm hoping we get a lot of feedback saying, I want it electronically. And yeah, I think this is eventually going to fade away. But when we knocked on doors, Sean,
I got the exact opposite experience. People were saying, I missed that newsletter. Why did we end it? And
I'd be surprised at that. I've done very, very extensive door-to-door work. My experience is contrary to that, David.
But I'm also sitting in this seat because I campaigned on a newsletter.
I said, okay, it's not that expensive.
All right,
yeah, they want it.
No, I'm not gonna vote against it. I'm gonna support it. But I think there's a couple of other issues you need to be aware of related to content. And in the past, the newsletter eventually, Sharon's got a good list of items that are township related, and they're certainly appropriate for it. But what happens is you run out of subjects. In the past, the newsletter struggled for content, and the pages were filled with stories of some interest, but not related to Franklin Township issues. We had
but we're doing it twice a year.
We did have a woman.
So,
who,
so I think what we're
prepared
learning
it,
is that
and she worked for the Chester County Press,
and now it's time to go to
she typically filled the thing up with a lot of news stories, and of course that their magazine, the Landenberg Life, I looked at one today, the summer program. And if you look at the content of that program, and that's what we got a lot of in our newsletter. And I'll give you an example. We have trout fishing in Landenberg, Bancroft School Elementary, a place for learning, the legacy of Dr. Segment, profile of an artist, some photo essay, special needs for pets. I mean, that stuff is interesting stuff, but it's taken up in these magazines that are distributed throughout the township. So you want to be aware that you don't start filling up the newsletter with that kind of content. And that really did happen to us. I went back and looked at a number of them we've done in the past, and there was a lot of that kind of content in there.
Well, you know, John, I think we have Paul Lagasse. I think he could fill a whole newsletter for us on interesting things. I really do. I mean, Paul's just an encyclopedia.
But I don't doubt that, but you eventually run out of stuff to put in there. You can't put timely stuff in there because by the time you get it in there, it's old news. So the website's really where you need to be.
I don't think anyone's going to send out a newsletter without content. So if we don't have content, we don't send it out. So let's move on. Mary and Sharon, do you need anything else from us?
No, I guess just a consensus that we can go forward with this. Like, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the way where we are right now, keep going, girls, you know.
Yeah. Anybody disagree with that? Okay.
No.
So John, you're
Thank you.
next. Thank you, Mary and Sharon. Thank you so much.
John, it's on to you, John. John, you're next.
Yeah, I see it now. We're looking at 5C. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
All right. I make a motion that the Board of Supervisors approve the waiving requirement for a formal plan submission and corresponding review and approval process for the Hedge Apple Hill development, formerly known as Boxwood, as the only aspect of the development that is located within township is an open space parcel is intended to be owned and maintained by the HOA.
I second that, John.
Thank you for the second. I think if you look at the map of this thing, it's just unusual that a little corner of this particular property is in our township, and they need to accommodate us, our needs. And I think they've told us that they're not going to build anything on it, and that's what I heard. So Joan may be able to fill in a little more information, but generally that's what I heard, that they would agree not to build anything on it. So it's a no impact issue for Franklin Township. Joan, can you validate that or give us some more information about it?
That is correct. And the property in Franklin Township is part of their open space, will be owned by the homeowners association, and they have agreed that there will be no access to that property off of Walnut Glen Road. So we were concerned originally that one of the property owners that backs up to that might want to have an entrance way back there, to say a garden shed or something. So they have agreed that there'll be no traffic on that parcel at all from Walnut Glen in Franklin Township. So,
John, we're having a real hard time hearing you and Jeff. Your microphone is not putting out quality sound. I'm not sure what it is, but you're mostly garbled. So is Jeff.
okay, should I start again?
Yeah.
Okay, the property will be owned by the HOA for the development. Is that better? And they have agreed to not allow any access to that property off of Walnut Glen Road. And there'll be no buildings of any kind on that parcel. Pete has reviewed this and he has no problem at all with granting the waiver.
Is there any legal liability for the township that somebody did something on that property that we would be liable? I don't think so, but I'd be curious to see what Mark might say about it.
No, John. I mean, we don't have ownership of the property, so no. This action doesn't really have any liability.
Okay,
issues.
so they actually own it. We don't own the piece. It's just in our township. All right, thank you for that clarification. Appreciate it.
Are we ready to vote?
I think so, Nancy. I think we are.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Do I have 5 ayes?
You
All in
have five
favor,
ayes.
say no. All in favor. All opposed, say nay. All right, hearing none, the motion carries 5-0.
Great. I'm going to move to the next motion, but I thought we had done this previously, so I don't know if this is the exact motion.
I agree, Donna. So why are we bringing this up to vote again, Joan?
Did we do this before?
Yeah, we did this. We agreed to create the art. We didn't agree what the package should look like, but we did agree that we would do this. We did it last at the June meeting.
Right. We agreed that we would look for a new auditor and put out an RFP for the auditor, but these are some samples. They're different, 3 distinctly different RFPs that different townships have used. One from Kennett is very long and has a lot of information in it, and one from Valley Township that is extremely short, and the one from West Bradford is in the middle. And that's one that I would like to model
that's the one that Mark submitted here.
Plug in our information, if that's okay.
Then we have the one that Mark submitted here.
Well, Mark's is similar to the Kennett, very long.
Very long. I mean, I have a suggestion. So one easy way to go with what Joan suggested, or another thing we could do, because I don't feel like I'm qualified to make a choice. It all looks like gobbledygook to me. We could ask our auditors or 1 or 2 of our auditors to look at it. Not the ones, not the company, but the folks that we have that we voted in. We could ask them to select. So I think there's one way of going. Have Joan use the one she wants, or if she's not sure, go with 2 of our elected auditors, have them look at it, and make a choice.
I really like that idea.
I think that's a really good idea. Fred Shing is a highly experienced CPA. It's been his life work. Jim Johnson is also a certified CPA. These guys are very well versed in financial affairs. So, if they would just look at it and give us some opinion, I think that would, help the board with the decision. Because I'm with Donna. I look at it, I don't have the kind of background to make this kind of decision.
So Dave and Mary, if you agree, let's ask them to give us a recommendation. And then I would like Mark's view on it anyhow. So, once they have a recommendation for us, then we can look it over.
Sounds good to me.
I'm in agreement. I think it makes sense to me. I was looking through the 3 and really the only way I judged them was by the length, right? And so I'd rather have an expert say, okay, this is the right one. And that's why I wanted to look at Mark's, because Mark's here and he wrote this, or this was written for a reason. Right?
Yeah.
So, and I have to trust the experts on this.
Dave, that was modeled after one that we had used before for another township. So there's no right or wrong way. It's whatever the level of detail the board would like to see.
Okay.
Well, it's nice that you were involved in it because we have a legal view right away. So that's kind of helpful. But,
and that's helpful that you kind of sort of said it's not the end of the world which one we pick, as long as we are comfortable with which one we pick.
So I'm not going to make a motion. I think we should you got the okay, Joan, to go and talk to somebody and find out what they recommend.
Yep.
Hey, I don't even think we need a motion for it, but.
No, we don't. Yeah, I don't think so. We should just move on.
Okay. All right, Dave.
Next one is the Hess Mill Bridge update. So that's John. No motion offered, just a status update on where we're at with the Hess Mill Bridge.
Okay, am I muted now?
No, you're on.
Okay, all right. I got a note screen up. We'll make this fairly quick. Recently, I talked to Joan about the criticality of the project schedule, and placing the purchase order for the bridge was on the critical path. So I gave Joan some dates from the schedule. It indicated the project was significantly behind schedule. It was actually 9 working days at that time. So Joan worked with the Conservation District And they advised that the $271,000 grant was firm and that we should place the purchase order. The Conservation District advised that their official board approval is limited by the age of the members and some issues with the Chinese virus. So the Conservation District is confident of the grant.
John, coronavirus, don't say Chinese
I
virus.
believe
That's crazy.
the supervisors, I'm just giving them credit, giving credit to who did this mess. I believe the supervisors were copied with this email. So I think you saw that. So the PO was placed on about July 7th. So that puts us, I didn't get into the schedule today, it puts us 14 calendar days behind schedule, moving the bridge completion date to 12/19 versus 12/1. And the start of Jim's field work is at 10/26. There's a way to, I believe we can compress this schedule. So let me find my notes right now here. Okay, Ron Reagan, what we asked Ron to do is to work with the bridge supplier to establish a timeline for submittal of drawings approved by the township engineer and a delivery date of the bridge to the site. Currently, the schedule uses the standard intervals we really developed back in February, which were given to us by the bridge manufacturer. But now that we got a purchase order in hand, we could probably do better. So this issue of the bridge delivery is now on the critical path. My expectation is that we can shorten the approval cycle timeline as the current schedule use these typical intervals, as I said. The bridge delivery date is the key milestone, as the DNR and the construction activities will be controlled by that date. Just a few bits of clarification. The bridge delivery date controls when the dismantle and remove and field prep work can be in. Essentially, the contractor that's going to DNR the bridge and prep the site needs to start his work in a manner that's timely so that he's finished when the bridge arrives. But we don't want to start too soon because we don't want to disable the road for any period longer. So that needs to be discussed. And then, of course, the bridge delivery date controls the finished construction. So hopefully we can improve the schedule and bring the bridge completion date back to December 1st or sooner. So hopefully Ron has been asked to work with the supplier to see if they can compress this whole effort between now and the bridge delivery. So I don't have any feedback from him just yet, but Joan is working with him.
I have heard from him this afternoon.
Okay, what do we get?
He said normally it's 14 weeks from the time of the purchase order, but he feels because they're allowing 2 weeks for him to review the plans, and he will not need that much time. So he's estimating 12 weeks before we receive the bridge.
Oh, 12 weeks from now, or 12 weeks from when he gets the...
From now.
Oh, 12 weeks from now. All right, let me crank that into the schedule.
There we go. We saved our time. We're back on track.
That may just put us right back on track or better. So let me work the schedule, see how that plays out, and we'll come back to Ron just to make sure we clarify it. So.
Okay,
So
thank you, John.
John, have we put the PO in? Have we done that?
Yes.
PO, yeah, the purchase order is done.
Perfect, that's great, okay.
Because the worry we had was that, the CDC couldn't process the permit, process the grant in a timely manner. Certainly the pandemic really limited their board's ability. And we eventually decided to take the lower grant because there was concern that if we didn't take it, that it might not be available to us next year, considering the economic state of the state of Pennsylvania. So I think we made the right choice. So I think, and the CDC gave us some assurance that we'll get the grant. So that gave us the confidence that we place the purchase order and get moving. So I think that was a big upgrade. So hopefully this 12-week indicator that Joan just gave us will reveal that the schedule is better than what we have. So Anyway, I
And
don't have
Jeff, thank you so much for seeking that grant. It made a huge difference, huge difference. So that was your initiative and we really appreciate it.
We would have certainly got the bigger grant if it wasn't for all the issues with the pandemic, but.
Yeah. Okay, John, do you have anything else?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I'll see if I can get a schedule, redo the schedule with these dates, confirm with Ron that I make sure that I understand the information correctly, and then we'll get the schedule out to everybody so we know where we are. If we establish the bridge delivery date, that is the key item. Everything keys off of that. That may make us feel real comfortable. So
good. Okay, the next one is 2020 road program
Nancy,
update.
I would like to make a comment on that last statement.
Sure.
I would like it stricken from the record that it is called Chinese virus. I think that's a racist term. It's the coronavirus or COVID-19, but it's not the Chinese virus. And I think people of Chinese descent would be offended. And
from a public
we don't
official,
want to
it's completely inappropriate.
It is. And we have people of Chinese descent in our township, and I don't want to offend them. So that's my only comment. I'm ready to
Thank you, Mary. Anybody else have a comment? Okay, we have 2020 road program update. I have no idea what we're supposed to talk about. Does someone know what we're supposed to talk about with this?
I'll start to talk about it. I guess what I'm trying to determine is what roads do we actually agree that we're going to do? Because I'm not really sure. So
it's in the minutes.
All right.
Did you read the minutes?
What I've got in the spreadsheet is Elbow Lane, Gypsy Hill, then the Laurel Bridge swale work.
And Auburn.
And Auburn. That comes up to 294,762. Is that where we're at?
That's where we're at.
Okay.
Jeff, do you have Jeff or Joan? Do you have anything else?
That's incorrect. You approved Elbow Lane, Auburn to do the repaving and to do the patch area, and the Laurel Bridge swale work. That's what was approved.
Isn't that what John just said?
John,
is that what you just said?
I assume we're going to pave Auburn with over 2,000 feet of paving. Is that correct?
Yes, Auburn Road and the patch work that is needed on Auburn Road up near Gourmet.
John, the correction.
Oh, right.
Oh, okay, all right. That's additional scope that we didn't have.
So John, you had said the word Gypsy Hill, which is something we talked about at the original road meeting. But based on last month's meeting, we had taken Gypsy Hill off.
They just told me it's in. That's why I'm asking.
No.
Sorry, it's out. If we look at the minutes, it's not in.
Well, then I think you're grossly underspending on the road program, and there are consequences to that.
Well, remember Hess Mill Bridge as well. We already had this conversation. We already voted. So if you want to reintroduce the conversation, we're going to have to do it in another meeting.
All right. Well, I still have a few comments that came up in the last meeting. And then during the last board meeting, this is directed toward David. During the last board meeting, you made some comments about the road program that were incorrect. And by innuendo, you demonized the very successful program and its participants, mainly the township manager, the assistant township manager, our road maintenance contractor, Donna D, myself, and the entire road program. And initially, you indicated that $500,000 was just thrown at the road program and hoped for the best. That's your quote. This is far from the actual practice, and I take offense to the tone and nature of the comment. Because during the course of every year, our assistant township manager and road maintenance contractors travel the roads being observant of conditions and areas of degradation. The observations also occur in wet weather. So their evaluation is not something that's just thrown around. So I find the comments rather offensive that you put it in that tone.
Okay, thank you.
John, this might be a better conversation for you and Dave to have privately.
No, it occurred in a public meeting, and I was offended by it.
I said what I said, and I agree with it.
Okay, well, thank you, John.
Thank you very much for your opinion, John. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
let's move on. Mary, you're next,
Wait, can I give you an update on where we are with the road program right now?
I guess. Yeah.
Okay, Jim has started the milling of Elbow Lane. And I sent you some pictures this afternoon.
Yep.
I don't know if everybody saw them, but he did run into a problem. A pipe had separated
Right.
crossing the road there. So he had planned to pave tomorrow, but we're not going to be able to do that. We need to look and see what it will take to remedy that problem, whether he can just slide it together again, or does it have to be replaced or what? So Jim will give us an update on that tomorrow. He's going to have a camera, to go through the pipe and see if it's separated any other place. And
Okay.
I just also wanted to let you know that, Ron Reagan is looking at some of the roads to do an evaluation on them. And when I gave him the package of information, I told him that Jim would be milling Elbow Lane today and plan to pave tomorrow. And I asked him to just stop down, just to take a look at things while he was, if he could, while he was in the area. So Jim told me he did stop down today, and, they discussed some things, and he planned to stop tomorrow, but with the paving not going on, I don't know if he'll do that, but he is going to look at that too, just to see the paving in progress.
So can we talk about maybe the process for what, because I want to, I want to be clear that if extra money needs to be spent to fix the pipe, are we all in agreement on how that happens? So what is people, I don't want to have to wait till next month to have this pipe not fixed. What are folks, maybe Nancy, you could speak to this.
That's a great question, Donna. Yeah. So we have a maximum amount for that road. I would say that if it goes over that maximum amount, or if he thinks he's going to go over it, I think we have to talk about it and talk about, now if it's a couple dollars over, that's fine. If it's going to be, $10,000 over, I think we need to at least have it. We can just have an emergency public meeting and just talk through it.
To do that, okay? Because I mean, it's milled, so we're kind of stuck. We gotta have to finish it. But I think we have to have I don't want him waiting for another month before he does anything. So maybe we do an emergency meeting if that's how you want to handle it.
And it's simple to do that. We can do these things pretty quick.
Yeah, with the Zoom stuff and nobody having much.
I mean, my point of view is, Jim goes out, assesses it, and then comes back and says, "All right, guys, this is what it's going to cost to fix it. Let's go." And then we just get it done.
Yeah.
Right.
So we come back as a group. So Joan would have that information. She'd call us together as a meeting. We'd have to advertise it to the public, so they'd have to know about it, and then we could meet within a couple days, right, and just have the conversation.
Yeah, I think it's just a day to advertise it. So or a day or two, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's.
So it won't slow us down.
Okay, that's great. I just wanted to be, I wanted us all on the same page. Good, thank you.
Thank you, Donna. That's a really good point. It keeps us thinking about it.
Jeff, I got a question to you about this pipe failure. Could you describe the characteristic of it? Because we only milled and overlaid the road. I was just wondering what kind of pipe was that close to the surface of the road?
Can I take this?
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, Jim or whoever can answer that, I'm curious.
If you don't mind, we looked at it. I looked at it with Jeff. What we found with that pipe, talking with the concrete pipe company, that those sections of pipe are 5 feet long. The last time they made pipe 5 foot long was back in the 1950s. So that pipe's been there for a while. That road has, when I first came in, one of the worst ones. It has a fair amount of water in it, and the seam actually separated from itself. The camera we did have down and it looks like that pipe might be full of dirt. For the pipe job itself, I did a quick rough estimate tonight. I have time to check with Jeff, but with the pipe and everything, you're looking at right around $6,000. That's if we had to go in and put all new complete concrete pipe in. It'll be a class 4 pipe for cover, and it will actually look a little bit wider. So what happened? Bridge.
I guess the question is that the pipe collapsed because we took the surface of the road off.
Yeah, that's where getting ready to say, well, we didn't know that because it was below, it was like 2 inches below the road. Once we took that top piece off, that's where the hole up. If you go down there, we put a steel plate on it, so if anybody wants to see it, I can come on down, I can show you. Dirt has cleaned itself underneath of the road, and
Well,
the road is just kind of staying now.
If the pipe's that close, to the surface, then you're probably gonna have to replace it in concrete because a plastic pipe won't support that weight that close to the surface.
Correct. That's what I was saying. It's the class 4 concrete pipe.
All right. Okay. I didn't understand the failure, but now I do. It was
So
close to the
Jim,
surface.
a quick question for you. Do you think that you can fit this in the budget that we already have for that road?
With the numbers that I'm coming up with, and I was trying to do a quick estimate and everything, it's going to be really close.
Okay.
If we go over it, I don't know. It wouldn't be any more than that 6,000. That's for sure. But that would be your worst case scenario.
Should we vote on that tonight so that, you know?
I would like to do that if we could, because I don't think we have a choice. I think you have a road, it's opened up, you got a pipe, you got to fix it. So I know Jim's going to do what he can to bring the price in. Is 6,000 or less. I'm comfortable voting for that. If the rest of the board is.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
let me make
agree.
a motion. I make a motion that for Elbow Lane, the board approves an additional $6,000 to address concrete pipe work as needed.
I second that.
Thanks, Donna. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. All right, is there
Okay.
anything else we should talk about on that? Okay, let's move on to Mary then.
I make a motion that the board set a policy for posting information on the website. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, discussion?
So I'm confused. Is there a policy you're proposing, or do you want us to go away and think about a policy?
We probably should.
We want to discuss how things get on the website and do not get on the website. So I guess we are going to set a policy here.
Okay, so we're going to have a written policy to review tonight.
I think we might want to think about it, a
Yeah, I'm
policy.
kind of thinking that we could discuss the guidelines of it, but to actually approve something, we probably need to write something down and then bring it back next month.
Mary and Donna, do you have time for that? Is that okay?
I think that makes sense that we have the conversation today, take some notes, and then Mary and I can talk and we can come back at the next meeting. I mean, we don't have the website's not ready yet anyway, so
Right.
we must really think it out and then put it down in paper so we can all agree. Mary, you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
So I'd just like to put my 2 cents in. Any of us can spin any conversation or any information any way we want. And I don't think that's appropriate. I don't think it's in service to the public. So I don't want content that is politically motivated, that one party uses when they run for office. I just don't think that's right. I don't think it's ethical. So my position is the information should be factual and it should not be predisposed to benefit or to tell a story for one party or another. It should have no political bent to it.
And I also think it should have nobody's opinion. Everybody has an
Right,
opinion.
that is not
No,
appropriate.
it has to be facts. That's it.
Well, John, unless you'd like my view of the open space, I mean, I'd be happy to put my perspective that between 2008 and 2018, or 2012 and 2018, the board approved and spent money on absolutely zero open space.
That's not true.
Well, that's not correct.
How much money did you spend on open space between 2012 and 2018?
We have a bill that we pay every month. I don't know how many thousands of dollars it is, but it's
That that was developed. How much did the board from 2012 approve
We
and
have to
pay
pay-
for?
Yeah,
Approve.
to answer your question, we have to pay that. And in addition to
Yes.
that, we had some additional properties that we helped.
Well,
provide
Donna,
money.
this is exactly why we shouldn't have political views on the website. We all have a different view.
I just think we should. So you're kind of arguing with
Okay,
yourself.
so just go back and think about it and then we'll vote on it next month.
Yeah, I don't think you can separate the politics from some of these issues.
Oh, sure we can.
No, I don't think you can. You can
Okay,
put
then
your,
we'll change the wording to make it more
well, you have
interesting for us. How about that?
well, you have 3 votes, so you can put anything you want up there, but you're not
There
going
you
to
go,
separate the
John.
politics out
So
of it.
why not make it fair?
No, wait a second, Nancy, I'm not disagreeing with you. I hope you don't take this. I think we should. I think we should try. Let's give Mary and I a chance. I think we can be factual. I think we can on both sides. I think we can. And if we're not, because we're going to as a board review it together, right? If we're not, then we need to call each other on it and in a nice way and provide some recommendations on how we can provide that message without it feeling like it's political. So I'm willing to give it a try.
That's wonderful, Donna.
Yep. Thanks,
I don't
Donna.
think does anybody else? I mean, this is one tenet, right? It should be facts, not opinion. Keep it factual, not political. But does anybody else have other comments? Because I think there's other, there's maybe something proactive. Like, what would you want to see? Like maybe. I don't know.
Well,
somebody else?
Donna, I think going forward, we cannot change the past. And if somebody did something they shouldn't have done or said something they shouldn't have said, but going forward, we can make an effort to not blame anybody for how they did something or why they did something.
I agree.
That I think is going to be the focus going forward. Forget about the past. It's over. It's done. Move on.
I guess I'm getting confused. Is there any, I mean, do we have other feedback? I mean, I totally agree with everything you said, so don't get me wrong. I'm with you. But I'm hoping this conversation's wider than that. I mean, is it all about, was that the worry? People worried about politics, or there's some other positive concerns? Like maybe I would like to see X.
Well, I think one of the things that would be helpful is to have a kind of a written standard operating procedure on how things get posted on the website, and how things get taken, like how often do we take things down, how often do we put things up, do we take things down or do we leave them up perpetually? Like right now we just kind of do things ad hoc. So I think having some idea, and what I'm hoping is that Mary and Donna, you guys kind of work together and figure out that process, because you guys kind of spearheaded the website, and then we can come back and kind of talk about it. Because I think we're all kind of
be terrific.
Age. We might all have a different perspective, but I think we just need to have some clarity, because particularly with the new website, it'll be much more usable and user friendly for posting information. And so, we want to make sure that we have some process in mind on how to get things updated.
No, I think, and I would like to work with Sharon on this, right, Mary? I think we should be working.
Yes.
Because she has it.
Absolutely.
My only, the only guidance I would give you too is when you think about this, think about what the public needs and wants, not what we want. It's not for us. It's not our money. It's the public's money. And I don't think the public particularly wants political bent. So just something to think about. Okay, so we are not going to vote on anything, but you'll come back with a proposed approach.
And Mary, I'll send you an email. We'll get together with Sharon and just have maybe you and I first, and we'll do a brainstorm, and then we'll go with Sharon. Okay?
That sounds good. All right, Donna,
right.
Look forward to it.
Okay, and then the next item should be pretty quick. Interim road and maintenance bid and road paving bid packages. I don't think we need to look at the packages. What I'm questioning is, I think I'd like to ask Jeff to take some time and see what he thinks. He's just come back from vacation, so it's not fair to Jeff to have him do it right now, but to look at the package and just come back and tell us what he thinks is needed. Do we need professional perspective? Jeff, are you comfortable doing the package and then go from there?
Yeah,
Jeff, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I can certainly start the review process. The staff will look at it, and my intention is always that once we've got it settled amongst the staff, we'll send it out to the board for comment. And then I'm always more than willing to meet with the board, and I'm sure everyone
Can't
else,
hear these
if
guys.
you have any questions, we can talk about it on the phone, or I'm more than happy to meet you in person. But I think it's a process that needs to involve all of us.
Just a note that I'd like to add that the bid package that is in your book, that was reviewed by Mark's office. Not the equipment, but the verbiage in the bid package.
And Mark, if you can hear me, that was a couple of years ago by Bob McClintock. He and I had worked on that bid package together.
So Joe, since you brought it up, I was actually confused. I mean, I actually tried to read it, and I thought, and it was just my confusion, I'm sure, that when we talked about what we wanted to do, I thought we were separating out the road work, the actual creating the road, from maintenance. And when I read this package, I kept seeing references to road paving and reconstruction. So I assume that would not be in this package.
That's correct.
Okay, so there's pages where that wording is, like, I found it like 3 or 4 times. I'm assuming that would go away then?
Yeah, yes, that will be part of the staff review before it goes to the board to try and eliminate all of that stuff, if that's what you would like.
Well, yeah, I thought that's what so personally, I like it just the way it is, but I know at the last meeting, the direction was to separate it. So, and also there's money in here, like they talk about $100,000, and I don't know, someone who's doing like road maintenance is going to have $100,000 bond, or I didn't understand, but it seems like a lot of money to have. And there was also a comment on page 7 where they talked about services such as road bank mowing, road de-icing, or snow plowing services are not included. And I'm thinking, well, is that because that's another contract?
That's another bid.
Yeah.
Each one of those are separate bids.
Road bank mowing is a separate bid than maintenance?
Yes.
Okay, so that just needs to be explained because it's very confusing. I would think that would be part of maintenance.
Jeff, I got a question on strategy on the paving. Are we planning to bid this thing out to pen bid bidders?
That's all going to be part of the review process, John. That's something we'll have to decide along the way.
Because that's where the contractors are. I don't know where else you'd go.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something to consider. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I heard a few things that Donna said that I really didn't understand here. Is how many components of this thing are being separated and bid out separately? I thought we're just taking the paving out of the current contract, but it sounds like that snow and ice removal and road bank mowing will be separate bids. Is that correct?
Correct, John. That's always been that way. Road bank mowing has been separate from road maintenance and separate from snow plowing and road bank mowing.
Okay, I didn't realize they were in they were in separate contracts. I assume it was one contract for maintenance. All right, very good.
Okay, anything else, anybody? My battery is almost gone. Good timing.
Nancy, you and I had talked about discussing the need for the update the day after the meeting, and you said we would talk about it tonight. So whatever.
Well, I mean, I think if we use the more streamlined minutes, that's going to help. Does anyone, if we get minutes out sooner, do we still need the update as well, or is that redundant? It came about because I think it took so long to get minutes approved. Anybody?
Well, I think, I mean, here's my take on it.
Minutes take 5 weeks. So, you've prepared the minutes and you don't issue them till after the next board meeting when you approve them. So there's about a 5-week gap between now and when these minutes are actually put out. So
Yeah,
That's
the-
really what facilitated the quick update. And really that was the staff's idea, which I agreed with.
Yeah, I mean, I think until we, two things. The update timing was really about, we would, Thursday afternoon, I would get an email saying, the update's going out. I need to get an approval. And so my comment, I think, on this was, well, why don't you just give us 24 hours? Here's 24 hours so we all get a chance to look at them and then update it. It doesn't have to be the next day. It can be on a Friday rather than a Thursday after a meeting. That's really the only comment that I have on the update. The minutes, I don't know until we get the minutes sorted and figure out what we're going to do there. I would just maintain what we're doing, right? Is that, I don't know, Nancy, if
I
that's.
think Sharon could probably take the update and almost do the minutes from it. We have to add them. I mean, we'll leave that to you guys, but Sharon, I mean, I think you have to add the motions and the votes, but it may be that we don't need to do these two completely different things. But I understand what you're saying, John, that the update comes out quickly and the minutes take more time.
Yeah,
but maybe the
really
minutes can.
And
let me finish.
we can publish the voted on, we can publish the update with all of the minutes
Yes.
without, and then we can have a month to,
To
put in think about it and edit it as, Donna and John and whoever wants to make edits, we can do that.
The official minutes take 5 weeks. There's really no way to shortcut that. So
It only takes 5 weeks because we vote on it. It doesn't take 5 weeks to type them out.
no, it doesn't. But the board only acts officially once a month. So you're in that
Right.
cycle with the.
That's why you have the unofficial minutes. You can publish unofficial minutes.
Yes, we can, and we do.
Your timeline is artificial.
So rather than doing an update and unofficial minutes, we could combine the two, save everybody a lot of headache, and then at the next meeting, we can approve the minutes and make them official. One way to do it. Okay.
In progress. We'll talk about it next month.
Yeah. Okay. So public, if you want to, if you have any comments of anything that was not covered today, now is the time. Okay. All right. Well, at 9:46, I am adjourning the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Good night.